Welcome back to Only Talk Sports, and tonight it could be the final game of the NBA season. It is Game 5 of the NBA Finals in 2024 between the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks, and this is a highly anticipated. A lot of people are wondering, can Dallas be the first team to ever come back from 3 down and be able to win a series and ultimately end up winning a title in the playoff? That would be absolutely crazy if they could do it. But the Boston Celtics, they have good news with the fact that Kristaps Porzingis is back. He is going to be available tonight to play, which is huge for them because I believe that he is the ultimate difference maker when it comes to this series, because when he's on the floor, it neutralizes Dallas being able to just drive inside and get those easy layups that Kyrie Irving is, even though it kind of looks easy. It's harder than it looks, but still, Kyrie can get down. He'll knock down those layups. Luka Doncic can, and that opens up Gafford and Lively for those alley-oop dunks. But when Kristaps is in, it is much harder for them to do that, and that is why we've seen a dramatic shift in this series once Kristaps got hurt again. Even though Boston did win Game 3, they barely won Game 3, and it took Luka Doncic fouling out of the game toward the end to pull off that game. But then in Game 4, Boston got destroyed, absolutely threw in the towel after the third quarter, got beat by like 40. It was absolutely embarrassing, but no one's going to remember that at the end of the day if Boston wins the series tonight on their own floor in Game 5. If they win tonight, it's no big deal. That's old news. They won the title, their 18th banner, but still, that was an embarrassing performance in Game 4, and it exposed the difference of Boston when they don't have Kristaps Porzingis and how much easier it makes it for Dallas to be able to run their offense. But Boston started out this Game 5 with a 2-0 lead. The offense has been stalling for both teams so far, and a lot of that's been because of the defense. We know that both teams have been playing excellent defense throughout the playoffs, particularly in the finals so far. Boston, when they're on, when their defense is on, they're almost unbeatable because their offense, when it's on, is almost unbeatable as well. But we've seen Boston's offense at times, especially in Game 4, absolutely play terrible. They didn't do anything on offense, and I feel like they would have scored a lot more points if they actually had have just gone out there and kept playing. But once they knew they were kind of like down by 20, they didn't want to fight back. They just gave up. So that game's kind of a moot point, but I still believe that Boston is a great offensive team for the most part. Their defense is good when they want to be. But Dallas, they've stepped up the defense as the season went along, especially in the playoffs, especially with the acquisitions that they made when they got Daniel Gafford through the trade market, PJ Washington through the trade market. Those were two great additions. And then you also talk about drafting Derek Lively. All of that has helped the Dallas Mavericks become the team that they are right now. But definitely Boston's the better team than Dallas still. I've said that all year long. Boston's the best team in the NBA, but the best team doesn't always win. Boston has choked in the past. They've choked recently, even with Tatum and Brown, which is why a lot of people do not trust a Tatum and Brown-led team to be able to win a title. But I think they are very close, obviously, and I think that they actually want to prove that they can win a title. And if they do win it with this game, I believe that people will change the narrative on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. People will start giving them the respect they deserve, that they're good players, because they are. I mean, to say that they're not great players is absolutely nuts. They're fantastic players. It's just because of the fact that they don't have that title. And when you don't win and you consistently fall short, people just don't think you have the clutch gene. That's why people are saying Kyrie Irving was as great as he was, because he hadn't lost in I think in a series before in the playoffs up to this year, when it was a clinching scenario, a game clinching scenario, or a series clinching scenario, he was undefeated. Well, that shifted because unfortunately for him, they did not win in the last series in the game clinching scenario, even though they got it in the next game. And also Kyrie Irving's record since leaving the Boston Celtics team a few years ago, he hasn't even won a game since then against the Boston Celtics, which is absolutely crazy. So that all doesn't really spell good news for Dallas, but we'll see. Even though it's at Boston, crazier things has happened, and Kristaps has to stay healthy. What if he goes down in this game? If he goes down like in the second half, Dallas can come back and win. So Kristaps has to stay healthy. He's got to play on the floor, in my opinion, for at least 20 to 25 minutes, play well, can't get hurt, and Boston's got to have the intensity that they did not have in Game 4, and I think they will come out with a W if they do that. And the chat agrees. There are 3 votes so far from you guys. Appreciate you guys for participating in the poll, but all of you are picking the Celtics so far. I agree. I actually picked the Celtics to win the series, I think in 6, if I remember right. I might have said 7, but I did have this series going far, but then a lot of Boston fans were like, oh, we're going to sweep the Mavericks. Not true. The Mavericks did not get swept. They're trying to do everything they can to come back, but so far in this one, with 8:09 to go in the first quarter, it's a 6-2 lead for Boston. The Dallas Mavericks are struggling to find offense early in this game. I mean, obviously, TD Garden Arena, that home crowd. Boston is one of the best home crowds in the NBA, one of the best fan bases, which is why a lot of people don't like them, because they have the most titles, along with the Lakers, and they have the fan base that they do. And online, you know how it is, like with Dallas Cowboys fans or Dodgers fans or Yankees fans in Major League Baseball, Boston Celtics and the Lakers in the NBA. A lot of people get frustrated with them because they have so many fans. They win a lot, and when they don't win, people just get so happy when you are a fan of an opposing team, especially if you're a rival to Boston. But I think a lot of people aren't like massive haters of Boston because of who's on their team. I don't think really anybody, for the most part, has a problem with most of the players that they got. They're pretty chill players, but it's just like, well, they haven't been able to win, so that's why they're like, no, they're no good. But I don't know. I think the Boston Celtics are really good, and they might prove it tonight that they have that title gene capability, that they're actually going to get it done. But it's 6-2. We got PJ Washington for the Dallas Mavericks going down the floor, kicking to Luka Doncic. Dallas needs a bucket. Great pass by Doncic to Derek Jones, but that shot was off the mark. Unfortunately, not going to get that highlight reel on SportsCenter since he missed. But that was a great pass. Very good pass by Luka Doncic. Now Al Horford knocking down the triple. And things are going from bad to worse for Dallas to start. It's a 9-2 lead for Boston. I mean, 9 points in 5 minutes isn't all that good in the NBA or anything, but still. Boston is shutting down Dallas. The Mavericks are not hitting their shots. And if you're Dallas, especially being on the road, you cannot fall behind by a massive amount early. You got to be able to go out there and stay toe-to-toe with the Celtics, keep it competitive, because that's what happened in Game 4. If Boston had just kept it close with Dallas, even though they were losing the entire time, I think they'd have been fine. Even if they lost the game at the end of the day, just keeping it close, it has it where your team is still motivated to continue forward and still have a chance to win. But once you fall behind by too big of an amount, there's really no chance you're going to come back, especially when you're on the road, because you don't even have the home crowd on your side. So if Dallas fall behind in this game by like a score of 40-20 or 40-18, will they even be able to have any chance of coming back? I don't really see it. So Dallas has to keep this thing close. That was a good timeout, early timeout by Jason Kidd to try to settle him down. It's really early in the game, only 9-2. All it takes is Luka knocking down a couple shots, get a couple stops. They're right back in it. No need to hit the panic button yet. But technically an elimination game, they have to win every game from here on out if they're going to be able to come back and win the series. You're on the road. Boston's hungry. I mean, they've made it very, very clear that they want to be able to win a title this year, especially with all the people out there that are doubting them, saying that they just can't do it. They cannot win a title. Tatum and Brown are not capable. And I think they want to prove it. They look like they really want to prove it. And I feel that they're going to win this series, even if they don't win tonight. But I do think they're going to win tonight, especially if Kristaps just stays healthy. He is the key, in my opinion. But to get to your comments, appreciate you guys for being here tonight. We got Jackson saying, what's up, Only Talk Sports Nation. I always love seeing you in the chat, Jackson. Really appreciate you for being here tonight. He also says, if you love top-notch hot takes on college football, college basketball, NFL, and NBA, because I don't just do NBA live streams. I do a lot of video content as well, and I also have done live streams for college basketball, but I also have an X account, what everybody's officially calling it now, I guess, because it has changed to x.com from twitter.com since Elon officially made that change. But I still like Twitter better, and I still will call it Twitter for the most part. But my X account, and I have a Rumble account as well. If you guys would like to follow me on Rumble, would really appreciate it. Trying to grow my audience on that platform as well. But also follow on Twitter or /X. Definitely would appreciate it. I usually write some stuff every single day on some sports news going on. You can't, unfortunately, make a video on everything. You'd love to, but it's very hard to just be able to keep up with every single thing that's going on. And Jackson putting the Rumble link in there. Do appreciate that, Jackson. He also, let's get Only Talk Sports to 3,000 subs. A little bit of a slower time right now because summer's here, and totally understand. Like, I know summer's hasn't officially arrived, but like we're at the end. Like, especially depends on where you live in the country. But if you're in the South, it feels like summer. Spring is gone, but spring will be over in a few days. And people are starting to go on vacations and all that, and sports are kind of slowing down. But we're still trying to grow the channel. We're getting closer and closer to 3,000. We were doing fantastic during college basketball season. I had tons of new viewers coming in. Really do appreciate all you guys. We're still trying to grow the channel. But if you guys are new and you're enjoying the show, we'd really appreciate if you would drop a like on the stream and subscribe as well. Definitely helps the channel. We are trying to get to 3,000 subs and keep moving on from here to 4,000, 5,000 subs. But it's all because of your guys' help, and definitely do appreciate you guys. Jeff says as well, I'm here tonight, Only Talk Sports. Appreciate that, Jeff. Know you're wanting Boston to win as well. Tatum and Brown, definitely a fan of those players. But, I mean, Dallas, I like Dallas too. They got a good team. Kyrie Irving, he's won a title before. So is Drew Holiday, because Drew Holiday, he won a title with the Bucks, and then with Dallas, obviously Kyrie Irving with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Even though everybody's like, it was LeBron James. Those are only LeBron James fans that say that. Most NBA fans like, nah, Kyrie led the charge on that one. Even Kevin Love contributed heavily, but LeBron fans will just say it was just LeBron, which is hilarious. But those two players have won a title, but everybody else hasn't won one yet. So if you're a big Luka fan, I'm sure Luka Doncic fans would like to see him get his first title because he's really good. And people think that he doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I feel like that's just been because he hasn't been on great teams. The Mavericks have always had, I guess you would say, mediocre to decent teams for the most part throughout his career so far in the NBA because they haven't had enough good players around him. And Luka Doncic just knocked down a tough and one here, and he knocks down the free throw to make it 9-5. So just like that, Dallas getting a big bucket that they needed and getting a foul on Al Horford in the process. But Luka Doncic is a fantastic player. Was definitely in the MVP argument, but since his team had a worse record than some of the players toward the top, that's why he didn't win MVP, and it ended up being Nikola Jokic again. Even though Denver wasn't even, the best seed in the West, there was a big argument for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Oklahoma City Thunder since they were the 1 seed in the West. Some people would say Tatum, but I think the issue for Tatum this year, if he had better numbers with Boston having the record they did, he would have won an MVP, but Boston's more of a team effort, and that's what I like about him. I like the fact that even though Jason Tatum he's the best player on the team, even though Jaylen Brown is making a big case for that, but Tatum's still the best player, but there are a lot of nights where Tatum isn't even like the third leading scorer. They have so many guys, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis. So many players, even Peyton Pritchard contribute. Porzingis is entering the game right now. We'll see what he can provide. It's huge to see him on the floor getting a big standing ovation in TD Garden, but Boston has a lot of great players, so many guys that can contribute, and I feel like that's what prevents a guy like Jason Tatum from getting anywhere near the MVP conversation. But Jokic ended up winning it, but Luka Doncic had a big case because he's a great player. But so far, his team is down by 6 after Derek White knocks down that free throw on the and one. It's 11-5. Dallas not playing all too bad on defense for the most part, but their offense has got to get it going. They cannot continue to go multiple possessions in a row without getting a bucket. I mean, Kyrie's got a wide open 3 right there, but he just cannot get that to fall. Had a great look. Jaylen Brown driving down the floor, going up on Josh Green, and he lays it up and in. He's looking for an and one. He's not going to get it, but that was a really good play by Jaylen Brown. He's arguably made some of the best plays on the entire Celtics team in these playoffs. Had a lot of dunks. He's been playing fantastic basketball, taking a lot of pressure off Tatum. Luka Doncic driving and kicks to Josh Green, who knocks down the triple. And that was a big catalyst of why Dallas had a great game 4. Guys like Josh Green, Dante Exum had really solid games. Even Tim Hardaway at the end of the game, Tim Hardaway Jr. knocking down some threes once the game was out of reach. Dallas needs more contributions from their supporting cast, not just the stars. Drew Holiday down low, misses the layup, can't extend the Celtics lead. Dallas back the other way, down by 5. Josh Green with the basketball, fresh off that made triple. Kicks over to P.J. Wash, and now over to Luka Doncic, the star himself, to Josh Green. Gets a little screen. Doncic behind the back pass. Can Green capitalize? And he does. A behind the back pass by Luka Doncic finally ended up in a triple, and Dallas only down by 2. That's what I'm saying. It was so early in the game. No time to panic for Dallas. They're right back in this thing. 5:10 to go in the first. Tatum, top of the key. He's got Lively on him now that Gafford has gone to the bench. Tatum driving inside, and he knocks down the layup. But they call a jump ball on that. They call a jump ball with Tatum driving in. I'm shocked. I don't know. There was a lot of contact there, but I don't know. Did he get all ball? I mean, he got a lot of body. I think he got his hand, though. I think he got a good amount of his hand, but I've noticed that they've been calling a lot of tops on plays where guys have actually gotten more hand than ball. So I don't really know why that's the case, but it doesn't end up mattering for the Boston Celtics because Derek White just knocked down a three off. They do the jump ball after tops. They don't do possession arrow in the NBA. Still crazy that the NBA and college is still different in that regard. I'm surprised one or the other hasn't switched to either the college rules or the NBA rules and vice versa to make them both the same. Jaylen Brown driving, kicking to Tatum at the top of the key. A little shot fake over to Kristaps for a three, and Kristaps shot it a little strong. Sam Hauser saves it from going out of bounds, though. That was a really good play from Hauser. He's been shooting the ball better lately, which is big for Boston. Tatum inside, turnaround jumper, and it's in and out. Kristaps almost saving it, but it ends up in the hands of Luka. 4:10 to go in the first quarter. Doncic, another behind-the-back pass to P.J. Washington, but he doesn't shoot the three. Now Kyrie taking him, looked like a mid-range jumper, but it was actually a pass to Lively. What an adjustment by Irving. Now Doncic driving and trying to draw a foul, kicks to Irving. This possession's crazy, and it ends up with a big dunk from Derek Lively. What a pass by Kyrie Irving. And Joe Mazzulla, he's seen enough. He calls timeout, settle his guys down. Under 4 to go in the first quarter, but that possession looked absolutely broken. Just a bunch of random passes to nowhere, and then Irving on the sideline finds Derek Lively wide open in the middle of the paint. Porzingis, I mean, you can't blame Porzingis for chinning up on Irving with how dangerous he can be down in the paint, but that's one of those plays where definitely Kristaps should have stayed with Derek Lively because I think Irving was contained. I don't really think he was going to be able to make a play out of that. And then that dunk would not have occurred. But it is what it is. You can't really blame Kristaps Porzingis all that much there because of the fact of how good Irving is. But that's one of those where you got to stay with the big. You can't give up an easy dunk because the easier a score it is for Dallas, it's going to make it even easier for them to possibly win this game on the road. You can't give them easy buckets. Got to make every single possession tough as nails. That's what Boston has to do. Jason, the old millennial, appreciate you for stopping by. He says that was crazy how bad Dallas beat Boston in Game 4. I mean, it was such an outlier to what we have been seeing lately. Like, I know you had that one game where Denver got destroyed by Minnesota, but like the Indiana-Boston series, every single game for the most part was fairly competitive. And like even until the fourth quarter, even though Boston ended up winning all the games, like there was always a chance where Indiana could have won. All the games were close. But so far in this series, I mean, the games have been pretty solid. I mean, I wouldn't say they've all been like really, really close, but like Boston's had to work for the win. It's not like they've just trounced Dallas. But then Game 4 happens, and then the Mavericks down 3-0, backs against the wall, but no Porzingis, and then they absolutely just destroy the Boston Celtics. One of the worst performances we've seen by a team in the NBA playoffs this entire season. That's how bad Boston looked. At the end of the day, it don't matter. If Boston wins tonight, as I said earlier, that Game 4 isn't even going to be remembered. No one's going to remember, oh, well, they got beat by 40 before they ended up winning the title. The title's all that matters. But still, it was shocking, like you said, Jason, to see them get beat by that much, like throwing in the towel that early. But if it ends up resulting in them winning a title, I don't really think that they're going to care all that much that they did get trounced by that much in the previous game. Jeff says, hey, Jackson, how goes it? Again, appreciate both you guys for being here. Jack says he's doing pretty good. How you guys doing? To Jeff, and then Jeff says he's doing good. Glad you guys both are doing great. I mean, how could you not be doing great? Like, we got the NBA Finals game on here, and I know some people hope that the series continues. You know, a lot of people like to see the series go to 7 games because once the series is over, there's no more basketball. You do have the basketball tournament coming up soon. I know some people watch that. I usually check it out sometimes throughout the summer if I'm able to, but like that can be fun. And it's got different rules like with the Elam ending, but it's not like the NBA or college basketball. Once this is over, you have to wait all the way until like October for it to come back around. So Got to enjoy it while it lasts. It's almost over, but if you're a Boston fan, I know you just want your team to win. You don't care. You're like, well, I want the Celtics to just get it over with. I want Banner 18. I don't care like that there's going to be no more basketball. You just want them to win. But if you're definitely a Dallas fan or you want to see more basketball games and don't want the series to end, then you're rooting for the Mavericks. We got Paul T tonight in the chat. Appreciate you for being here. He says Boston will win. I agree with you. I think they're going to win. I definitely do agree. But definitely appreciate you for stopping by. And you also say you're good at this, bro. Appreciate that a lot. A lot of people usually talk about, that they enjoy watching my stuff. And every single time people say that, I'm so appreciative of it. I thank all your compliments. Thank you guys so much because they do help. I mean, when you hear people telling you that you're doing well or, I enjoyed your show, I mean, that's like what makes you want to keep doing it. You guys are the reason. Like if I like doing this. I enjoy just reacting to these games. But if I was reacting to nobody, I was just doing it and there was no viewers, it wouldn't be worth it. Like I enjoy doing it and all, but still you guys are the reason. You guys showing up, contributing in chat and your compliments are just so appreciated. I really, really do appreciate them a lot. And I'm glad that you enjoy my content, Paul, or you're enjoying the show at the very least, but definitely do appreciate the compliment. I know there's tons of people that are way better at commentating games than I am, but I just enjoy doing it. And who knows? I mean, maybe one day, you never know, maybe do it professionally one day. I have no idea, you never know what's going to happen in the future, but I do enjoy, reacting to games. I enjoy breaking down games, talking about stuff going on in sports. It's a lot of fun. And I'm just glad that you guys definitely enjoy it. And Jackson also says he's one of the best. Appreciate that, Jackson. Always appreciate your kind words for sure. And Paul says no doubt as well. You guys are awesome. Paul also says Celtics by 15. That's a good prediction. I mean, at home, Kristaps is back. He's at the line right now, and he knocked down a free throw. Boston's now up 17-15 over Dallas. But that's a prediction I could see happening. I could see Boston probably being in a close game for the most part with Dallas, but then kind of pulling away in like the final minutes to win fairly comfortably. But we'll see if Luka Doncic can put a hold and a stop to that, but he just missed the mid-range jumper right there. Boston back the other way. First quarter is getting close in the waning minutes here, getting close to being over. Only got 2:40 to go left in the first quarter. Derek White driving inside. His floater's off the mark. That's not a bad little shot right there. High percentage shot, just couldn't get it to drop. Now you've got Luka driving, and I think they might have called an offensive foul on Derek Lively. I don't know. I might have said an illegal screen there. But, yeah, I think it was. He was coming up. Yeah, I think he was moving. Just knocked Derek White over. Sometimes they don't call that in the NBA, and I don't know why they don't, because most screens in the NBA are illegal. I'm not going to lie. They're not legal screens. Guys stick out their hips. I don't know why they do that. I mean, well, I know why they do that. They want to give their player an advantage, but they know it's against the rules, but they do it anyway. But I think it's because a lot of times it doesn't get called against them. So then they just think, well, I can do it. But the refs been calling it more recently on illegal screens. They've been watching for it. So we'll see if that has an effect on more guys actually doing screens the right way. We'll definitely see. We got Jaylen Brown at the top of the key. 2:20 to go in the first. He misses a three, but it's tapped out by Drew Holiday. What effort by Holiday. That's going to win you a title right there. Tatum driving in, and that's a good play. In moments like that, they don't always show up in the stat sheet, but just Holiday tapping it back out, giving Tatum a chance to score there. That helps Boston go up by 2 possessions. Maxi Keebler's in the game for the Mavericks now, along with Dante Exum. See if some of the bench guys can provide a lift. And Dante Exum providing a lift off the bench for the Mavericks. Had a good game 4, and now he just knocked down a triple. Albeit the Celtics didn't really guard him all that well, but still he knocked it down anyway. Sam Hauser kicking it inside to Holiday. Holiday kicks to Jaylen Brown for the slam. What I tell you, Jaylen Brown is liking dunking the basketball lately. Massive slams. He has to have the highest dunk rate of all Celtics players in the playoffs. Just doing an incredible job. 21-18, 3-point lead for the Celtics. We got Doncic top of the key, being hounded by Jaylen Brown. Over to Keebler, inside to Exum. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Exum's got to make a move. Kicks out to Keebler for a triple, and his shot is way short. Holiday with the board, going back the other way. Dallas has done a good job keeping it close in this first quarter for the most part after they fell behind a little early, but can't lose it now. Sam Hauser knocking down the triple. That's big for the Celtics. Sam Hauser been shooting the ball better lately, but he went through a cold spell early on in the playoffs. Hauser to Tatum after the steal. Kicks to Jaylen Brown with a sick reverse layup. What athleticism by Jaylen Brown. And just like that, the Celtics are up by 8. 26-18. The Celtics can go on a quick flurry. Tatum down the floor with another steal, and he lays it in. Unbelievable. The Celtics just going on a quick 7-0 run in like less than 30 seconds. Dallas is imploding at the end of this first quarter. They need this quarter to end. Keebler misses the three off the rim. Jaylen Brown with the board. Not a good shot there anyway by Keebler. He was kind of open, but still had a lot of time left to score on that possession. Tatum at the top of the key, letting the remaining seconds wane in the first quarter. 8 seconds. He's got Doncic on him. Step back three. That shot's off the mark. Washington with the rebound, but good defense from the Celtics on that rebound attempt, so nobody can get the shot off, and that's how our first quarter is going to close. 28-18. Celtics lead by 10. And if you're just now tuning in and seeing Boston up by 10, then you're probably a little bit surprised to know that just less than a minute ago, this was a one-possession game. I mean, Dallas was doing a solid job after they fell behind early, got the game back close, but they have completely fallen apart again. Just incredible offense by the Celtics in the final minute of the quarter. Paul asks how old I am. I don't know what your guess would have been, but I am 20 years old. I don't know how old you probably thought that I was, but I am 20. A lot of people usually think I'm younger, but still, that is my age, and it's crazy. I've been doing this for a couple years, and I really do enjoy it, but still do appreciate you being here tonight. Also, you asked which state am I out of. I hear a Texas accent. It's crazy. I love when people ask what state I live in because there's been so many guesses. People have said like Alabama or Texas or Florida or California even, which I don't really get that one. But a lot of people have done a lot of guesses, but I'm actually from North Carolina. North Carolina is where I'm from. And I think it's because I don't think a lot of people really associate North Carolina with the South as much anymore. It's a southern state, just like how Virginia back in the Civil War days was a southern state. But now today, people don't really associate it as a southern state anymore. But North Carolina, it still is a southern state. I mean, a lot of people in the state now don't, I guess, speak as southern as they used to. But yes, I'm from North Carolina, still live in North Carolina, but a lot of people say that my southern accent, it's funny because people in the South, like that live in like Mississippi or Texas or something, they say I don't really have that much of a southern accent. But then like people from like maybe like the North or other parts of the country think that I have a pretty big southern accent. So it's just crazy with that. But definitely, I mean, pretty good guess. I mean, I could see Texas for sure. I mean, it's definitely not a bad guess, but do appreciate you for the question, Paul. It's always curious to find out where the voice comes from for sure, but definitely appreciate it. Jason says, I'll be honest, Luka Doncic is probably my favorite player to watch right now. I would like to see him win a title and an MVP. It would be cool. I mean, I like Luka Doncic. I really do. I think he's a fantastic player. He reminds me of a shorter Jokic, which I know that might be a dumb comparison because of the fact that, Jokic is, it's like 6'11", and, their skill sets are different. But the more and more that you look at the way Doncic and Jokic play, they play a lot more similarly than one would believe. Because they are guys that aren't super athletic, but they're sneaky athletic. And that's what allows them, especially with their size. Because Doncic is 6'7". I mean, he's a lot. He sometimes people think he's shorter. I mean, because he plays point guard a lot of the time. But he's 6'7". And he's a guy that I feel like if he wasn't his size, if he was shorter, it'd be a lot harder for him to be able to be the type player that he is with, I wouldn't say limited athleticism, but he's just not as athletic as other guys. So he is great. Fantastic player. He plays hard. I mean, he's even actually suffering, like he's been going through injuries right now. Like he is not healthy. A lot of people have said that, his health right now is just not up to snuff. He's got like several nagging injuries that he's been dealing with. And that sucks. Like it stinks to go all season long and get to, the finals and like you're here and you want to win. And then it's like, well, your body's not 100% or even close to it, and it's not really allowing you to be able to do what you want to do, which stinks. It absolutely stinks. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think Luka Doncic, he's playing the best that he possibly can despite the circumstances of the nagging injuries. But really, to be fair, like everybody at this point in the season with all the games that have been played, that you've had to go through an 82-game season and all these playoff games, no one's really 100%. Like, unless you just stand in the corner waiting to shoot threes like a Danny Green type of player, you're going to be hurt. Like, really, there's just no way that you're not going to be feeling it after all those games. Don't even matter if you're young. And Doncic, he's still a young player, but all these guys are not feeling their best right now. But Dallas just cut it to 8 after being down by 10 with a score there. But then on the other end, Sam Hauser. Dallas has got to guard Sam Hauser. He is starting to heat up. Knocking down another triple, down by 11. Kyrie Irving. Over to Derrick Jones. Derrick Jones back to Irving. Good defense from Boston. They're switching very well, not allowing any creases to drive. Irving finally, though, finds a small crease. No Kristaps in the game, though. And see, when Kristaps isn't in, Kyrie can do that. When Kristaps is in the game, that really limits Kyrie Irving's ability to drive in the lane. And now Kristaps is on the sideline ready to check back in. So Joe Mazzulla, knowing he can't play Porzingis too much, he doesn't want him to get hurt. But still, he's the difference maker. Dallas's offense is much less effective when he's in. And then Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's three-point shooting, a lot of people have talked about him not shooting the ball that well, but he's been shooting it better recently as well, doing a much better job. And that's helped the Celtics offense. And then down the floor, Irving, everything but the finish on that play. All the way to the rim, just couldn't get that shot to fall. Now Al Horford in no man's land. Kicks to Jaylen Brown. Brown trying to drive, and there's a foul on the floor, I think, on P.J. Washington, probably getting him across the arm a little bit. But this is not a good sign. I mean, Kristaps wasn't in the game there for a bit, and Boston still was extending the lead. So on the road, you cannot, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, fall behind by too significant of an amount, or you're not going to be able to come back. They're already down over by double digits, by a dozen. And it's so early in the game. In Boston, I mean, they got Porzingis and Horford in the game. How are they going to be able to drive the ball? And then you got Boston taking a 3. That, to me, isn't the plan. You got the two bigs on the floor. They have not played together all that much on the floor. And then you're taking a dumb 3. I don't agree with that decision. But Dallas, on the other end, missing a 3. Doncic trying to shoot over Porzingis, decides against it. Now he thought about it again, and he actually takes the 3, and he's off the mark. It is so tough to shoot over a guy that's like 7'2", with a massive wingspan. Got to give Doncic credit for trying, but just didn't work. And then you got P.J. Washington, I think, knocking Porzingis down on the floor. And now the guys are getting into it a little bit. I mean, you can't blame him. I mean, Porzingis has been banged up a lot. Oh, P.J. Washington, that was not a great foul by P.J. Washington, grabbing his arm a little bit, kind of throwing him down. I mean, it doesn't look all that bad, but on the replay, not the greatest decision by P.J. Washington. I wouldn't be irritating the Boston Celtics players either, especially on the road. That might energize them even harder to blow this lead open even further. I would not do that. Porzingis driving into the lane, shooting over Irving, and he gets the roll. I mean, this thing could get ugly. I mean, I'm not still pushing the panic button on Dallas, but they're down by 14 now. They need stops. Can Irving get the job done with these bigs in the game? It's going to be hard, man, to score in the paint with Porzingis and Horford. Now, Doncic is trying to find a lane. Nowhere to go, though. Kicks to Keebler. Got Holiday on him, and that's a mismatch. Keebler didn't have either of the bigs on him, and he was able to score over Holiday. Good decision by Dallas, but that was a breakdown on defense. Jaylen Brown kicks to Tatum. Tatum trying to drive, gets stopped by Irving. That's good defense. Now to Holiday. Holiday to Tatum. Tatum going up with it. His shot's off the mark, but they called a foul, which I don't think Irving agrees with, which, to be fair, most NBA players never agree with fouls, but still. A lot of times they are fouls. Just they always want to argue them. You can't blame them, but that's a foul. I mean, he got him on the arm. He's saying he's like, I went straight up, but his arm went down just enough that was a foul. Good call. So Tatum's first free throw is good. It's 37-24, 8:27 to go in the second quarter. I mean, I'm not going to say that this start to the game has surprised me. I felt like Boston, after the humiliating performance in Game 4, was going to go out there and play hard and take an early lead. Whether they would hold on to it or not, yeah, we'll see. And with Porzingis, especially when he was announced he was playing, that gave me confidence. Like, yeah, I think Boston's going to win this game, win the series, win the title. But I'm not saying Dallas isn't playing hard, but I thought they'd be playing a little better right now, especially after that performance. You'd feel like the performance in Game 4 would carry over more. And I'm not saying it hasn't, but they're not playing all that well. Oh, boy. Kyrie Irving knocking down that three to cut it to 11, but then Drew Holiday responds with a three of his own. He's another player that hasn't shot the ball that well from three lately, but he just knocked down a big triple. And the problem with Boston is when they are knocking down their threes, especially when you have both Porzingis and Horford playing, I mean, can you really beat Boston? I mean, when they're knocking down like a lot of threes, when they're feeling it from outside, we've got Sam Hauser right now in the game playing well. You got Holiday playing well, hitting that three there. Jaylen Brown's hit a three. I mean, Tatum hasn't, but all the other guys are getting it going. Horford hit a three. Just not looking good for Dallas. But a good sign for Dallas is that Derek Jones, who's been very quiet the past few games, he played well in the previous series against Minnesota, but that's a big shot from him. He's got 7 points, but Dallas needs more production from a guy like Derek Jones if they're going to be able to stay in this game. Tatum, crossover dribble, trying to find a lane. He's got Keebler on him. He can win that matchup. Spin move on Keebler to the rim. What a play by Tatum. Excellent body control. Just has more speed than Keebler, who was out for a good amount of the playoffs for the Mavericks with an injury. Good to see him back, but that was a good play by Tatum. Not an easy bucket at all. But it's 43-30. Still over 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. I mean, there's been a lot of scoring by the Boston Celtics in the past few minutes. I mean, the game, when there were like 7 minutes left in the first quarter, and the score was like 9-2. See, if you think about it, Boston has scored over 30 points in the past like 10, 11 minutes. So they've been playing a lot better on offense the past few minutes. I mean, it's been incredible. Dallas, it's been steady, but their defense needs stops, especially if Boston's going to keep up this high level of play. They need stops. They're not going to be able to hang in the game if they're just exchanging buckets at this point. They've fallen behind by an amount that it's dangerous enough that Boston can end up blowing this open to an over 20-point lead, and then the game's over at that point. They're down only by 12 right now, but still, they just can't trade buckets at this point. They need back-to-back stops, back-to-back scores, get this thing to around 6 or 7. If they're down like 6 or 7 at the half, no problem, but can't be down by over 10, and you definitely can't be down by over 20. And Jason Tatum, he wants the Mavericks to be down by over 20 because he just knocked down a big layup. That was a really hard shot by Tatum. People have criticized Tatum's play, saying he hasn't played as well recently, but that's a good play. Back-to-back difficult shots. He got hacked by 2 players. I mean, both Maxey Keebler and Derek Lively fouled him, and he still scored. I don't know who they're going to call the foul on, but both guys fouled him. I mean, that's insane. Jason Tatum, I mean, he still got it. Got 10 points, 4 of 9 shooting. I mean, it's not the best stats in the world, but he has hit some hard shots. So Tatum at the line trying to finish off the 3-point play, and he does. So it's 46-31, 15-point game. Dallas in trouble. Can Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic has kind of been quiet last few minutes. Can they find a way to get him back in the game? Because the role players for Dallas, that's a big issue for me with Dallas, is when they're down by a lot, their role players disappear, even more so than they ordinarily do at times. Like, their role players were the reason that they blew out Boston by the amount that they did in Game 4. All of the guys that you weren't like used to hearing their names being called, just playing great basketball. Not tonight. I mean, Derek Jones is 7, but is he really like a role player? I mean, he's essentially like their 4th best player. So, I mean, you're talking about like a guy like Sam Hauser for the Boston Celtics, who's like their 8th option, and he's already got 6 points. But then like Derek Jones is 7 points, and he's like the 3rd or 4th option. So it's just Dallas not getting the job done like they were in the previous game. Boston looks energized. There's still a lot of time, though. I mean, there's still a lot of time. I've seen bigger comebacks. So if the game, like if I stop watching it right now and then I turn back like after the game's over and I see the score and Dallas ended up winning, it wouldn't shock me completely. But if Dallas falls behind by like 23, 24 points, then it definitely would. I mean, 15 points is a lot more manageable deficit than 20 to 25. Paul T says that white guys are overlooked. Hate to say it. I mean, the thing is that when you got a lot of, different type of players in the league, I mean, certain guys are going to get more attention maybe for athleticism or like something crazy they do. And I mean, like I said, Luka Doncic and Nikola Jokic, they just don't flash that much outside the passing and the ridiculous shots that they hit with their limited athleticism. But it's just like the athleticism factor. If they have more of it, then they would be able to showcase more. But yeah, I mean, definitely Luka Doncic sometimes doesn't get the credit he deserves, or Jokic has been getting the credit he deserves. That's why he's won all the MVPs. A lot of people feel that he doesn't even deserve him at this point because, like, well, maybe he didn't play as good this year. I felt the team didn't play as well for Denver this year than it was more Jokic, but still. And then Paul T said, go up, bro. I'm out. Definitely appreciate you for showing up tonight, Paul T, and thanks for all your kind words, but I hope you have a great night. Definitely appreciate it. Jay says, has Tatum had that great of a finals performance? Well, I mean, that's a good question. I don't think Tatum, like I said, has played necessarily all that well, but like a lot of other sports commentators have said, it hasn't really mattered. Like, Tatum has had a couple games in these playoffs where he's only had like 14 points or 16 points, and his field goal shooting percentage was not that good. But the Celtics still won comfortably because Derek White had like 25 or Drew Holiday had like 25. It does not matter how well Jason Tatum plays if the other guys step up. Like Luka Doncic could have 10 points, and Dallas could win if Derek Jones had 30 or P.J. Washington had 30. Or Dante Exum had 25. But those guys don't score that much. They rarely, if not ever, do. And that's why it forces Luka Doncic or Kyrie Irving to have 30-plus points every single game it seems to win. That's why, like, Tatum, he's the subject of all the debate. Like, oh, he hasn't played well enough. He's not getting it done. He's not the player we thought he was or we thought he was going to develop into. It doesn't matter. Because if Boston ends up winning, it doesn't matter how many points he has as long as the other players step up, and they normally do. Not in game 4, but that's just one game. I mean, there's still a lot of time left, like I said. But Tatum has 10 points, but, I mean, if this was Dallas being up by 15, it would probably mean that Luka had like 20 points already, at least. That's just the difference between Dallas and Boston and what arguably makes Boston a better team. Jason says, I hear some commentators say Doncic whines too much about calls. I mean, a lot of players do. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like LeBron James. Like, if you are the biggest LeBron James fan of all time, and I have nothing against somebody for being the biggest LeBron James fan of all time, but if you are a LeBron James fan, massive fan, you have to at least admit, because there are some people that won't admit this because they're such a fan of that player that they won't admit this, but LeBron argues calls all the time, complains, whines, all that stuff, carries on about calls that are dumb. A lot of times he's not even right. There have been cases where he's been right. Every player is right once or twice. Like they always say, a broken clock's right twice a day. But still, a lot of players whine and complain about calls. Some of the best players of all time complained about calls. And when I see Luka Doncic, I see that. I do. I see, a guy that can complain. I mean, Jason Tatum complains sometimes. But I feel like when he does, it's more usually, like viable or justifiable. It seems like, yeah, he's right. I mean, he's been wrong too. I've seen plays that he's complained about and he hasn't been correct. But I don't know, like in the heat of the moment, like sometimes, I mean, players are obviously, and even coaches are going to be biased toward themselves, like their own team. Like they're not going to, argue for the other team. Like they're going to like, oh, our team, the refs are not helping us out, not helping you out, but like they're not giving us a fair shake. Because I can't stand when people say the refs aren't helping. It's like the refs aren't supposed to help you. The refs are supposed to call the game right, but you feel the game is not being called evenly, not necessarily in your favor, but evenly. But players, sometimes they're right, sometimes they aren't. But I do think there is validity to that. Luka Doncic does complain about calls. He does seem to, more so than some players. But on the previous play, PJ Washington with a great pass to Gafford, knocking down that slam dunk. Dallas still down by 13, but maybe that could be a little bit of a momentum shifter. Irving inside to Gafford again for another slam dunk. But you notice who isn't in the game right now? Ironically, I don't know why Joe Mazzulla has it like this, but Horford nor Porzingis is in the game. So Tatum's the tallest guy on the floor for the Celtics, and Gafford's gotten 2 back-to-back dunks. That's not a shock. They need to get one of the bigs back in the game. Drew Holiday over to Derek White for a triple. It's off the mark. Tap out by Brown to Tatum off the dribble. Tatum going in for a layup. That's a good play. Tatum's being smart tonight, not just settling for the jump shot. That's when Tatum gets himself in trouble. Drive. He's got all the athleticism in the world and the length to do it. It's a good play by Tatum. He's got 13 points and 7 assists, which is almost more important than the points. Irving, top of the key, trying to fake with Hauser. Like a double dribble, not going to call it, though. P.J. Washington driving in, and that's a good play by P.J. Washington. But again, no big in the lane for Boston, making it easier for Dallas to drive in the lane. I would argue Mazzulla needs to call a timeout for Boston. Inside, Holiday misses a layup. P.J. Washington down the floor, kicks to Derrick Jones, and another layup for Dallas, and they need a timeout. That's a good timeout because it's too easy. I mean, I'm not saying, because I know it sounds dumb and I sound like a repetitive broken record, but you see the difference. When Horford is in the game, you even still see a difference. But when Porzingis is in, you see a massive difference. Dallas's offense just folds. They cannot function on offense when Porzingis is in the game and he's in the middle. They cannot function. They cannot get anything going. Right now, you are seeing a byproduct of a bad, poor decision by Joe Mazzulla to have both bigs sit on the bench for a few minutes. I don't understand that. Jason Tatum, I've seen Boston go with a 5-out lineup before with Tatum at the 5. But Dallas's bigs, Lively and Gafford, are both athletic enough, and Dallas has guys that are good enough passers in Irving and Doncic, and even P.J. Washington, you saw with that pass. You know, it was easy to get the ball to those bigs for slams. And when they have those breakaway runouts off Boston misses. But yeah, like Dallas, their offense just isn't the same when there is a center in the game for Boston, particularly when it's Porzingis. And that was a bad decision by Joe Mazzulla to sit both the centers there. I don't understand that. I mean, did it cost him anything? No, Boston's still up by 9. But Dallas feels better about themselves. Now, we'll see if that changes once out of this timeout, and I'm sure Mazzulla will put one of the bigs back in the game. But Dallas was in trouble. They were down by 15. Now they've cut it to 9. So that's the formula. I'll just say that Dallas needs to take advantage of all the minutes when no bigs on the floor, which shouldn't happen again, or if Horford's in the game, because that's when it's easier for Dallas to score. RC, appreciate you for stopping by. He says, what's up, Only Talk Sports? Salute. Definitely love seeing you in the chat, man. You always have the greatest comments, but do appreciate you for stopping by. I'm doing great. Cannot wait. See what happens in the rest of this game to see if the finals are going to continue with a game 6 later this week, or if the Boston Celtics are going to end this thing tonight, and for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown to prove that they can win a title and be able to get their detractors to finally say, yeah, they're great players. I mean, I feel like most people can admit they're great players, but like they'll have an added level of respect to their name if they are able to have a title. And for Dallas, if they could come back from 3 down and win, and Luka Doncic get his first to become the first team ever to come back from 3 down, that would be insane. That would be crazy. It's a lot of stakes on the line. Jason says Dallas is coming back. I mean, I think that they could come back and win, and they definitely come back in this game, to your point, for sure. But to me, it's almost more so like Boston, like allowing Dallas to come back in the game or hang around. And you don't want to do that. I mean, you're on your own floor. I mean, you got everything. For the most part, it's gone your way in this game. You got to find a way to extend the lead. You got to find a way to extend the lead. You don't want Dallas to hang around because the longer that Dallas hangs around, the better chance they have of winning. And Dallas is doing a great job. When they fell behind by that much, not to allow the lead to grow any further, because if they did, then they might have been done. But since they have cut this lead, and if they do go into the half only down by around 5 or 6 points, they're good to go. So Dallas, they will have done their job. They don't have to be leading at half. They just have to still be in the game. You can't get blown out. So we'll see. 4:40 to go in the second quarter. Derek White kicking to Jaylen Brown. Horford is in the game. Brown driving, and the ball is out of bounds off the Mavericks. But good defense there. Mavericks trying to tune up their defense a little bit, turn it up, start playing better defense, because that's what they're going to have to do if they want to win the game. I would argue that Dallas' defense is almost more important than their offense. Can't let Boston score easily. Derek White shooting a three. It's off the mark. Hauser tapping it out to Drew Holiday. Good play by Hauser. Hauser with a shot fake for three. It's off the mark. Doncic with the board. Not a bad look for Hauser. Probably wouldn't have taken that shot, but definitely not a bad look. And he had knocked down 2 triples earlier in the game. Doncic sees an opportunity for Dallas to cut into this lead. Kicking inside to Gafford. Ball's knocked out of bounds. Gafford's been dominant the last couple minutes since there were no bigs on the floor for the Celtics, but now Horford's in the game. It's going to make it a little bit tougher, but Gafford still has the athleticism to score on Al Horford, who is a bit slower. P.J. Washington driving into the lane. Goes up with a layup. Did they call a illegal screen, though? Look like P.J. Washington had a clean score, but maybe it was an illegal screen. I don't know. Did he travel? Maybe they call it a travel. I think they might have called a travel on P.J. Washington, which is so rare. They barely call travels anymore in the NBA. Jaylen Brown going up with it, and he got caught between laying it in with no backboard or laying it off the glass. That's always one of the toughest things when you're going downhill. Doncic step back jumper, his shot's off the mark. The scoring's kind of slowed down a bit. Derek White down the floor. 3:35 to go in the second quarter. Over to Hauser. Jaylen Brown top of the key. Kicks to Horford in the left corner. Horford being affected a bit by Gafford, but Horford taking it to the chin of Gafford and laying it in. What a play by the veteran. 50-39. It looked like Gafford had him kind of pinned in the corner, but then Horford just got out of it. Now Doncic is losing the ball on the floor, throws it out of bounds, and I think it's Celtics basketball. Great defense from Boston. Doncic is a good ball handler and a good passer, but he lost the ball there and threw it away. But yeah, Horford just taking it into Gafford there. Like a little bit of a foul on Gafford too. Like he fouled him about 3 times on that play. But now Horford going to the bench. I think they might all be going to the bench. Might be a TV timeout, but Horford with a well-deserved rest after that sequence. That was a good shot. We got Traveling Fools here tonight in the chat. Appreciate you for stopping by, Traveling Fools. Always awesome when you show up, but definitely appreciate you for stopping by. Always, when I see your yo, I know it's you, man. Jason says, yeah, I just have the Olympics to enjoy basketball next. That's true. I'm not really a big Olympics guy, which I know is crazy because I'm like only talk sports, but I've never really watched the Olympics all that much. But yeah, I know they do have like, basketball events with the Olympics and stuff. Like, that's why, like they have the, women's Olympics. Like everybody's been talking about Caitlin Clark lately. Even made an entire video on Caitlin Clark with the whole Stephen A. Smith situation. If you guys would like to go check that video out, it's the last video that I've made with that whole situation. I mean, the Caitlin Clark situation, the WNBA is just crazy. I mean, she's a great player, but all this press that's just going her way and all of it, most of it's negative. I mean, I think she deserves a little bit of positive press, and hopefully I provided that for that whole situation with my video because it's awful. But I mean, whether she deserved to be on the Olympics team or not, I mean, that's up for debate, and I can see it either way. I even did a Twitter poll, and a lot of people have had differing opinions on that. But I think that, especially just based off her popularity alone, she should have been on the Olympics team. But yeah, you are right, Jason. The Olympics are still up to look forward to as well if you are a basketball fan with those games. But Boston scoring again inside, now up by 13. Tatum with 8 assists. I mean, he's on fire passing the basketball. Such an unselfish player. PJ Washington trying to drive on Horford. Good defense from Al Horford. Now on the floor. It looks like Derek Lively might have accidentally landed on Derek White's head. Jaylen Brown scores on the other end, 54-39. But is Derek White all right? It looks like he's back on his feet. But that could have been ugly. Irving knocking Holiday to the deck. Now Washington in the corner to Josh Green for 3. And Green had a great look, and he drains it. Fantastic play by the Dallas Mavericks. They needed that one. They need the ball movement, too. That's the thing. Boston is a great passing team. And Dallas sometimes, even though they have good passers, they do a lot of ISO ball. But it looks like Derek White's oh my goodness. Derek White's head is front of his face accidentally because Derek White running into him. His nose hit the hardwood. So I think he's bleeding. Yeah, he's gonna have to get that checked out. Hopefully he's all right. He should be able to return in the game as long as hopefully there's no concussion or anything. I think he should be okay in that regard. But yeah, his nose and mouth area. I mean, I'm surprised the blood isn't worse. That's not good. That was a tough play, but that's what effort does for you. I mean, effort. I mean, one of the most iconic photos in history was of Tyler Hansborough against the Duke Blue Devils when the bloody picture. I mean, when he got hit, man, like all because of effort, all because of the name of wanting to win. You never want to see it, but that's effort. So, I mean, Derek White with a battle scar there, but that's all effort, man. Crazy. 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. Boston up by 12. Dallas needs to find a way to get this back to single digits. I really believe that if they want to win this game. Can't fall behind by too much more here in the final couple minutes. That's not a good sign for Dallas. Jaylen Brown with the triple and another assist from Tatum. 57-42. Tatum, I mean, he's going to be remembered for all these assists, man. His passing has been exquisite tonight. No turnovers either. Down the floor, Irving driving, can't score. Back the other way, Drew Holiday leading the break. Kicks to Jaylen Brown in the corner. Brown thought about the triple, instead thinks better of it. Now Brown over to Derek White in the right corner, and Derek White knocking down the triple. 60-42. The Mavericks are officially in trouble. I'm doing the panic button. Dallas is in trouble. Doncic down the floor, lays it in over Jaylen Brown. Smart not to foul, down by 16. But the Celtics can just go on those quick runs, man. Those quick little flurries, those 8-0 runs, they can get you. 50 seconds left in the second quarter. Tatum inside to Brown. To Derek White. Derek White looked like he thought about shooting the three, but thought better of it. But he almost turned it over. But now Jaylen Brown somehow ends up with the ball. He's driving and he's fouled with 41 seconds left. Looks like Kyrie Irving might have fell on the sidelines. Hopefully he's okay. He was trying to go save that ball, and oh my goodness. Just completely, he didn't knock over any computers. One computer moved a little bit, but man, he just fell right into that guy on the sidelines. What effort by Kyrie. Oh boy. I think Kyrie Irving's okay. That's the main point. But right next to Redick and Doris Burke and them on the sidelines. Just runs right into him. That's crazy. I'm glad Kyrie, it looks like everybody on the sideline is okay as well. That's the most important thing, but man. So Jaylen Brown's first free throw is up, and it's off the mark. A little bit short there. Don't know if that was a fatigue free throw right before the half, but not a great free throw. And they said on Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. on Thursday night, Game 6 if necessary. So if this series does continue, will I be able to stream Game 6 on Thursday night? I'm not 100% sure. Depends on my schedule, but we'll have to see. But I know a lot of people hope the series continues. We'll see. Dallas going to have to do a better job, though, in the second half than they done in the first half, especially on defense if they want to come back. P.J. Washington missing the three after Jaylen Brown hit that free throw. So it's 61-44. 25 seconds left. Dallas just needs to stop and a score here. Jason Tatum backing it out. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Luka Doncic guarding him. Star on star. Tatum, step back three, and he knocks it down. Tatum's playing so well. That's usually when he knocks down his threes, is when he's having a good game. What a shot by Tatum. And Dallas is down by 20. 16 points and 9 assists for Tatum. He's almost got a double-double already. But Luka Doncic, to silence the crowd just a bit, lays it in. Tatum does not agree with the foul there. But threes are bigger than twos. And Tatum just knocking down that massive three over Luka Doncic. Not an easy shot. Did Tatum foul him? I don't know. Wasn't much of a foul. I mean, I think he might have got him a little bit on the shoulder before he went up. But still, wasn't too bad. But Luka Doncic, can he complete the three-point play? Down by 18. Doncic only with 9.6 boards, 4 assists. That's what I'm saying. Doncic only with 9 points, and his team's down by 20. Almost 20 points. But Tatum's only got 16. And the Celtics, they brought in Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard has not played at all in this first half until now with a half-court three, and Pritchard does it again. Peyton Pritchard does it again. A few games ago, he hit a half-court three, and he does it again. I mean, this guy doesn't even play the whole first half. They just bring him in with a couple seconds left before the half, and he buries another triple from over half court. It's unbelievable. I mean, how can you be sitting on the bench the entire time and just come into the game for the first time and knock down a 50-foot shot? No backboard even. That's all net. Peyton Pritchard is crazy. Peyton Pritchard is absolutely crazy. He needs to play more, man. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I know he's a defensive liability. He's short. I get it. He is short. And since there are fewer short players in the NBA now, that's why, like, a lot of the guards are taller. I mean, it's a size disadvantage to have him on the floor. But, man, he can shoot the ball. I would argue he makes more difficult shots than he does easy ones. When he's wide open, he misses more often than when he's, like, shooting a 50-footer or, like, he's heavily guarded. But it's just wild that Peyton Pritchard, man, can just come in after sitting on the bench the entire time and bury a half-court shot. And like, you could say, well, it's just lucky. Half-court shots are lucky. He couldn't do it again if he tried. He's done it twice in, like, a couple games different. Like, it hasn't been that many games in between it. He's got that clutch gene from deep. Crazy. Traveling Full shouting out Jackson. Jackson asking how you're doing tonight. Traveling Full's fun trivia game last night. Traveling Full says, great, Jackson. Glad you have fun. Awesome for sure. Traveling Fulls is always doing fun stuff over on his channel. He's an awesome guy. I really always appreciate seeing him in chat. Jason says, wow, that was a Boston run at the end of the first quarter. And the thing is, now they did it again in the second quarter. They had a big run at the end of the first quarter and a big run at the end of the second quarter. I mean, basically, if you take out the two runs at the end of the first quarter and at the end of the second quarter, Boston would probably only be up right now by like 4. I mean, they'd still be winning, but Dallas, what's been a killer for them has just been those end of the quarter runs, and the end of the first quarter, end of the second quarter. Because at the end of the first quarter, I mean, with like 2 minutes left, the game was close. I mean, they were only down. It was like 21-18, and then Boston blew it open. Took a double-digit lead, and then they did it again. Dallas had it, I think, won it 48-37. It was a 9-point game. Now Boston's up by 21. Is the game over? I don't think so. I wouldn't say it's completely over, but Dallas's odds of coming back and winning, I mean, they're down to around like 5%. They're not great. I mean, with Irving and Doncic, anything's possible. I mean, they could get hot. Boston has choked before, but it's Boston's odds of becoming the 2024 title winner, getting that 18th banner. Their odds are looking really, really good right now. You guys, appreciate you for voting in the poll, but with 10 votes, 70% vote Celtics, 30% vote Mavericks. So I'm guessing that the three of you that voted for the Mavericks to win, that was back when the game was closer, because right now with the way the game's looking, it doesn't look like the Mavericks are going to win, but there's still time. I would not count out Dallas just yet, despite the score. I would not count them out just yet. Clint Mose says Lucas single-handedly ended yours, taking over NBA narrative. Appreciate you for stopping by the way, Clint. But the thing is that Luka Doncic, I mean, he's an excellent player. But the problem is that, and I said it earlier, you see Boston with Peyton Pritchard just coming in and knocking down a half-court three. Hasn't done anything all game. Hasn't even come in all game. And then he knocks down a half-court shot. That's contribution. He was on the floor for a grand total of 4 seconds in the first half, but he made a difference. Pritchard made a difference. Luka doesn't have that type of help for the most part. I mean, we saw it in Game 4, and that is why Dallas won. And the thing is that even though I've made such an emphasis on Kristaps and him being in the paint, and that's why Dallas can't score, as easily when he's in the game because they can't drive and get to the rim. Well, the thing is that with the Dallas Mavericks, there have been moments in this game where Porzingis hasn't even been in the game, and Dallas still can't score on offense. I mean, 46 points, to be fair, isn't terrible. I'm not going to go out there. I'm not going to say that it's awful or anything. I mean, it's not great. I mean, it could be better, but it's not awful. But the thing is that Boston is 67. And the leading scorer for the Boston Celtics is Tatum with 16. He only has 16. But the more important stat is he has 9 assists. He's gotten everybody else involved, and those guys have made shots. Jaylen Brown is 15. I mean, you combine the two of them, they got 31. I mean, that's good. That's good. But all of the other players combined for the Boston Celtics have scored more points than Tatum and Brown have combined. And that's the difference. If that continues for another half, game's over. Everybody that's come into the game for Boston, Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Kristaps Porzingis, all have contributed. Dallas just isn't getting that type of help. Kyrie and Doncic haven't had their best first half in the playoffs in this game. But what if PJ Washington had like 15? Or what if, Maxi Keebler had 10? Like, some of these guys were just scoring. If they were scoring and it would take the pressure off Irving and Doncic to do everything, I think that Dallas would be right in the game. They'd be just fine. But they're not getting enough contributions from those other guys. And Boston had a great first half offensively. Maybe they won't keep that up in the second half. And if so, maybe that will allow Dallas to come back in the second half. But odds are definitely not looking that good. Jason, the old millennial, says good second quarter for Tatum. Yeah, he did. Absolutely. I mean, Tatum has debunked a lot of narratives in this game, for his play in the playoffs. There have been games where I would never say he was tuned out and that he was just outright playing awful at any point, but there were games where legitimately he was not playing his best, nowhere near it, and was shooting the ball very poorly. But it didn't matter for the most part because the rest of the guys were doing their job. But tonight, Tatum's scoring, he's been fairly efficient, but his passing, 9 assists, 0 turnovers. In the first half, 9 assists to 0 turnovers for a 6'8" forward. Not a point guard, a power forward. It's unreal. And like Irving, he's got 5 points, 5 assists. That's just not going to get it done. I mean, to be honest, I don't see any world, any chance for Dallas to come back and win this game if Irving or Doncic don't at least both have 25 points. Maybe even both 30. They're already down 21. But Doncic is 9 and Irving is 5. They only have 14 points. So, yeah, I mean, Dallas' other players have scored some, but they're down 21 because the defense hasn't stopped Boston, and the Stars aren't doing enough. So we'll see what happens. It's just not looking too good for Dallas. Jeff says Tatum does it again. Absolutely, Jeff, you were right. Jason Tatum's a great player. I mean, people forget that one playoffs where he was basically having to do everything because I think once Jaylen Brown hurt or whatever, and like Romeo Langford started games. Like no one even talks about Romeo Langford anymore because he's like in the G League for the Jazz, former Hoosier in college. But like Romeo Langford, man, was starting games in that series that year for the Celtics. People are like against the Bucks, and Tatum had like 51 points or whatever in one game, and they still lost. And they lost that series. But people are like, oh well, it's because Tatum's not clutch enough, and it's like, Tatum's not clutch enough because his team kind of blows. The team's not good, right? So it's like this series, this game right here, he's got 16 points in the first half, but they're up 21. Everybody's contributing. His passing's been great, but like he had 51 points in that one game against the Bucks like 3 years ago, and his team was horrible because he didn't have enough good players and they lost. Like it is what it is. I mean, it's better to have a great team than a great player or two at the top. It's just the way it goes. That's why I feel like the Phoenix Suns, they're just infinitely screwed. They're not going to be able to win. You look at the Phoenix Suns, you've got Booker, you've got Durant, you added Bradley Beal. I mean, he's a good player, but Bradley Beal is not on the level of Durant, Booker. And it's like, okay, they got Eric Gordon. I mean, he's a good player. He's a great veteran, but he's not always reliable. Like if his shot's not falling, he doesn't do much else. Grayson Allen kind of the same way. Yusuf Nurkic is worse than DeAndre Ayton. I just look at that team and it's like, it's just not there. It's not. I mean, I don't know, like Durant, I know Durant's made it like clear that he wants to win another title, but it's like, I don't think with the way the Phoenix Suns are currently constructed, I don't see them winning a title with Durant. So, I mean, if he wants to win a title, he's wasting his time down there. His remaining, I guess you would say, prime years because he's about to exit them. But some teams just aren't constructed right. Dallas, I mean, I've said last year even, I'm like, Dallas is just not good enough. Like, you got Doncic, you got Irving, but everybody else, like the rest of the players are not good. The role players are not good. I've said that for years. Like, even when they first got Irving, because when they just had Doncic, the team wasn't that good. And then they got Irving, and people are like, oh, that's a bad move. Like, Irving and Doncic is not going to mix. It's not going to work. It's worked. And I feel like it's worked better than most people were actually expecting it to work. Because of the fact, I mean, look where they're at right now. But they're here not just because of those two guys. Watching the Dallas Mavericks last year and the year before, it was almost painful because it's like, I saw games where Doncic would have 40 and Irving would have 35 and they'd still lose. Like, they would still lose. And it's frustrating. Like, that should not happen. We've even seen that with Phoenix. There was one playoff game a year or two ago or whatever where Booker had like 45 points and Durant had like 40 and they lost still. That's just because you don't have enough you don't have a supporting cast. You don't have supporting talent around the stars. And I know that it is hard to build rosters. I know it is hard. Like the team Boston has, they have the ideal team. I mean, you can maybe say they don't have a true point guard other than Peyton Pritchard, and even then he's more like a undersized shooting guard. But like Boston, like they have enough guys that can handle the ball and distribute. That it's not that important. But they got every position accounted for. And that's why the team's so good. But to build a team like what Boston has is not easy. I mean, the Derek White trade was one of the biggest steals of all time. I mean, literally the Spurs traded Derek White to the Celtics for Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a second-round pick. I mean, that's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. And the Celtics got a great player out of it. And arguably, because Derek White's he's surrounded by better players than what he had at the Spurs, he's a way better player now than he was then. So And the Spurs don't even have Josh Richardson, if I believe, or Romeo Langford anymore. And the second round pick, I think, turned into Blake Wesley. He's been okay. So the Spurs just got absolutely shafted on that trade. It was a terrible trade. It ended up being a terrible trade. I thought at the time the trade was kind of iffy, but I'm like, I didn't think Derek White was as good as he is now. So I was like, I mean, it's not awful. Derek White's okay. I mean, he's going to be better for the Celtics than I think the guys the Spurs got, but it's like, But the trade ended up becoming worse because of what Derek White's provided for Boston. But it's like that's why Boston has had so much success. It's because they've made the right trades recently, and they've won the trades. Even like getting Porzingis. A lot of people, I was even worried with Marcus Smart. I didn't want to see Marcus Smart go. If there's any Celtics fans in chat, I'm sure that you were the same way. You didn't want Marcus Smart to go. I did not want to see Marcus Smart lead the Celtics. I thought, he just embodied the Celtics. And it wasn't just because of the green that he had in his hair. Like, that was like the ultimate Celtic, with the image and everything. But like, he was the longest tenured Celtic. He played hard. He was fun to watch. Even though he's a guy that's like Draymond, where he gets in your head and he's kind of boisterous. I feel like he kind of does it in a way that's less annoying than Draymond. But the thing is that when he left, I was like, what are the Celtics doing? I can't believe they got rid of him. Robert Williams, I understood. He was injury prone. Love Robert Williams to death. Fun player to watch. He plays hard, but the guy can't stay on the floor. He just can't. And Porzingis kind of suffers the same problem. But the Celtics took a chance with him. And the Celtics knew, well, we still got Al Horford. So it's not the end of the world, even if Porzingis can't play all the time or he goes down. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the Celtics, though, in a couple more years when Horford ages out to the point where it's like, yeah, he's not going to be in the league anymore. What are they going to do then? Because if they just stick with Porzingis and he is an injury-prone player, they're going to need another big, but that's in the future. It's not important right now. But right now, the Celtics have the ideal team. Not every team can have the ideal team. But if you want to win a title, especially like how a guy like Durant wants to win one with Phoenix, you can't have the team Phoenix has. You just don't have enough there. You got the stars, and yes, you need stars to win, but you need a supporting cast. That's why Denver won it last year. Also because the Celtics, Tatum got hurt, Brown was hurt, and they lost to Miami. I don't know what would have happened if it had been Celtics Nuggets. I think the Celtics might have won the series. I mean, Denver could have beat Boston maybe, but they beat Miami fairly easily because Miami, for whatever reason, was shooting the lights out for so long. I mean, I was unheard of what they were doing, and then they blew it in the finals, had no chance. But Denver just had a deep team, and it wasn't just Jokic and Murray. All those supporting players played well, even down to Bruce Brown, who they ended up having to get rid of. Couldn't pay them all. But yeah, I mean, you have to have a complete team, not just stars. You need stars, but you need great supporting players. Steven Cherry, appreciate you for stopping by. He says, my God, Jeffrey, I see you've got your Boston pom-poms out today. Well, I mean, I'm being 50-50, I feel. Like I'm breaking it down both ways, but I mean, the Celtics are playing better. I mean, they're playing really good, but do appreciate your stopping by, Steven, but I definitely try to be, impartial 50-50. I don't give like fandom away. I mean, I don't really have like, a massive preference in the NBA. I mean, a lot of you guys do know that the first NBA team I ever watched was the Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Rajon Rondo teams in the late 2000s when I was a little kid. So I enjoyed watching those teams. I was like LeBron hysteria at the Miami Heat. So, I mean, I was always like, I was like a Celtics fan. But, I live in North Carolina. I always have, it's like, it's not the biggest deal to me. Like Boston, it's just Boston. They're like the only team that, other than Indiana in college, and there's a reason I like them because of the fact, like, they're my feel-bad college team because a lot of people just they think they suck. But it's like Boston's the only team like out of state that I like because like the Charlotte Hornets, like they're never on TV. Like I would like to like them, but they're awful and they're never on TV. It's not like the Carolina Panthers. Since it's local, they always put the Panthers on TV. But it's like with the Charlotte Hornets, they're never on TV because the NBA doesn't do that where it's local. It's like, no, we're going to put the best games on TV. And if you want to watch the bad teams, you got to have a league pass or whatever. So it is what it is. Makes it just ridiculous that you can't, watch your home state team. But it is what it is. But yeah, I do like Boston a lot, even though I know a lot of people don't like him. But I feel like this team isn't arrogant. And I hope if they do win a title, they don't become arrogant. I've never really been a fan of arrogance. Like a lot of people didn't like Tom Brady when he was younger because he felt arrogant. I feel like he got better when he got older. And that's when I was watching him more when he was older. But yeah, I'm trying to be impartial, Steven, but I get it. You're not a Celtics fan, so I guess that's funny with your comment. But third quarter's up back on, and the Celtics are still up by 21. The Mavericks and the Celtics have traded buckets. Tatum, top of the key. Gafford on him. That's a mismatch advantage for Tatum. But Tatum was driving in, but he's fouled by Gafford. No free throws, though. Yeah, but on the previous possession, though, Drew Holiday with a great pass to Tatum down low for the slam dunk. Tatum now with 18 points. 9 assists. But Drew Holiday now top of the key after that foul from Gafford. Dallas just needs stops at all costs. Derek White shooting a three, and they're not getting a stop that way. Oh, boy. Yeah, this game's about to get ugly. I was hoping the game would be competitive tonight. I really was. Regardless, doesn't matter who won. I wanted it to be a competitive game, but it's getting out of hand. Kyrie Irving kicks to Gafford down low, and there's a foul on Holiday. I mean, like I said, I'm not officially saying it's over. This game is not over, but they're about out of time, realistically. Realistically, Dallas is completely running out of time because Boston, unless their offense just falls apart, they're playing too well on offense. And for Dallas to have any chance to chip into this lead and have enough time to do it, they need to start going on a big run right now, like a 12-0 run in the next couple minutes. Gafford scored a 2, but then Horford on the other end, knocking down another 3. Boston's on fire from outside. 75-50. All while Porzingis is not in the game. I think they just called a foul on Jaylen Brown for prohibiting Luka Doncic from driving around the corner there. But, wow. Boston just keeps building the lead. I mean, that's a great pass. I mean, Jaylen Brown driving in the middle of the lane and kicking it to the corner. I mean, Horford's a great corner shooter. That's why he's still in the league. He developed a three-point shot because if he had gotten older and not developed a three-point shot, he would not still be in the league. Oh, boy. Kyrie Irving driving in the lane, and he falls on the deck. Hope he's all right. Took a tough fall there, but Celtics players do not agree with the foul call. Let's see. Was he fouled? Ooh. Well, like Irving pushed off on Holiday, to be honest. But I guess the refs saw the aftermath of Holiday reaching down. But that actually did look like a push off on Irving. But Kyrie at the line, knocking down the first free throw. 75-51, 9:32 to go in the third quarter. I mean, I'm sure there's been bigger comebacks, like being down, 20-something points in the third quarter and teams have, been able to come back. But in an elimination game in the finals on the road, it's almost unheard of. Irving knocks down the second free throw. Definitely, Dallas just needs Boston to choke. They just need Boston to just fall apart. And Dallas needs to go on like a 12-0, 15-0 run. Get this thing back to around 10, and then maybe we'll have a ball game again. Tatum kicks to Horford in the corner. Horford driving on Lively, and there's a foul. Been a lot of fouls in this third quarter. I mean, you talk about the first half, first quarter, second quarter, there really wasn't that many fouls called. There's been a lot of fouls in this third quarter. Like the third quarter is only we've only been around 3 minutes in, but I think we've been since the second half has started, it's been 7-8 minutes. It's been a very slow third quarter so far with all the foul calls. But I mean, maybe that's just the intensity. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really seen too much intensity. There's more intensity in the first half, but maybe guys are tired, but they're just swiping down more, I guess. But a lot of fouls. Horford's got 9 points and 4 boards, but more importantly, Horford has not missed a shot in this game. And right when I say that, Horford misses the second free throw. But Derek White saves it from going back the other way. Jaylen Brown kicks to Holiday for the layup. What a play by Jaylen Brown. So unselfish. And that is what is making Boston play so well in this game and why they've been good, so good all year. The passing is exquisite. And I just don't think Dallas has that gene of being able to pass the ball to their teammates at the rate that Boston's doing right now. I mean, like I said, Irving and Doncic are good passers, but especially when the Mavericks fall behind by this much, I feel like it puts more pressure on them to score the ball themselves. Like, they don't want to risk, like, giving the ball up, passing it to someone else. Like, we got to do it. We got to do it ourselves. We got to get it done. So, like, you're probably going to see in the next few minutes, Irving and Doncic just start chunking up shots. Probably going to start chunking up shots and hope they go in. Hope they can go on a run that way. I don't think you're going to be seeing, Doncic kicking it to Gafford or Washington or anything down low. I think that Irving and Doncic are going to start trying to shoot their way back into this thing. And whether that works or not, more likely it won't. We'll have to see. But, I mean, you can't sugarcoat it anymore. Boston's up by 26. I mean, I said it in the first quarter when they fell behind 9-2. I said as long as Dallas does not fall behind by more than like 10 to 12 points, they can keep this game relatively close. They should be fine. But they have not done that here. Absolutely, they have not done that. Stephen Cherry says, no Giannis, Lillard hurt, Randall hurt, Halliburton hurt, Jimmy Butler out. Boston has had a cakewalk this playoffs. The only thing that you can say to defend Boston, and I know that you've already heard the argument, Stephen, is that they didn't have Kristaps for the most part. So even though like all of those players were out for those other teams, I mean, you talk about Halliburton getting hurt. He got hurt toward the end. Boston still won the games when he was healthy. And then Lillard, he got hurt toward the end. So Boston beat them for the most part when he was healthy. Obviously, Randall being out, Giannis and Butler and everything. But I'm just saying, like, Boston didn't have Kristaps. So that didn't help them. I don't know. It's just tough because of the fact that there's always an argument. I mean, if Boston had won all these games with those teams being completely healthy, or all those players being healthy, then maybe like some people be like, yeah, Boston, it's legit. But I mean, I feel like they played well. I mean, they've only lost 3 games in the entire playoffs. It's not like they scraped by in these series despite those injuries. Like, they've pretty much dominated. But, I mean, I get your point. I mean, you're not wrong. If all those players were healthy, it probably would have made a difference. Maybe Boston still wins the title, but we'll never know. But, I mean, if Kristaps was healthy and all those players were healthy, we don't know. I mean, we don't live in a world or a scenario this year where that happened. I mean, all those guys did get hurt. Kristaps did get hurt. He's back now, but we just don't know. Ideally, you would like to know. I would love it if nobody got hurt, if everybody stayed healthy and we just got to see all of these teams at full strength. I mean, how many championships in the NBA, NFL, college football, or college basketball, how many years would be different if every team stayed healthy? I mean, it's something you don't think about often, but sometimes you do. I mean, imagine some of the greatest teams of all time that didn't win a title or failed to do so that particular season because of an injury or two. It happens. And unfortunately, all those teams had those injuries. It is what it is. I mean, you wish you would have liked for that not to occur, but unfortunately it did, and there just isn't anything we can do. But your point is definitely valid. Stephen Cherry also says that Embiid was hurt as well. I mean, yeah, that's a lot of guys hurt. You're going through an 82-game season. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of guys get hurt by the end of the year. It stinks. 8:30 to go in the third quarter. Still a 26-point lead for Boston. Tatum missed an easy layup. Tatum's hit some tough shots in this game, but he misses that easy layup. Usually how it goes. Now Josh Green kicking in the corner to Derek Jones. Back to Josh Green. Now Luka shooting the shots off the mark. But Josh Green with the offensive rebound. Heads-up play by Josh Green. Luka taking a ridiculous shot. That was hard. I mean, he can hit that, but not a great look. But Josh Green Right spot, right time. Very good effort. Boston misses on the other end. Dallas needs a run. They need a big run to get back in this thing. And then Doncic is taking a tough step back. That's the issue for Dallas, though. Doncic is taking hard shots that he don't need to be taking. He can hit those shots, but Boston can live with him doing that. Tatum in the corner. Thought about shooting the three. Kicks to Drew Holiday. Holiday's three's off the mark. He had a really good look, but Irving comes down with the board. Now Josh Green back the other way. Dallas needs to get it inside. They need to get to the rim. Kristaps isn't in, so they can do it. Irving driving on Derek White. That's an advantage for Irving. And Irving with a tough step-back jumper. Good shot. I mean, it wasn't as tough of a shot as Doncic because it was closer to the basket. And I can live with Irving doing that. Irving driving into the lane, getting into the paint, taking a little step back. He can hit that. That's a good play. Tatum, top of the key. Driving on Lively. Good defense by Lively. Turnover. Doncic with the ball after that steal by Lively. Over to Irving. Back to Doncic. Taking another step back three off the mark. Just don't like the shot selection. We know Doncic can hit that, but I did say a couple minutes ago, I felt like Dallas was going to start taking tough shots because of the fact they're down by a lot. You don't need to do that if you're Dallas. Jaylen Brown taking a three. It's off the mark. Boston's gone cold, but Drew Holiday with the rebound. Now Brown off the offensive rebound by Holiday, trying to drive on Doncic. And there's a foul. I think they called on Doncic. Like Brown extended the arm a little bit, but I think they're going to get Doncic with the foul. Okay, Jaylen Brown had a good look from three there. Just couldn't get it to drop. That's the one issue with Boston, though. Boston is a team that is a great three-point shooting team. But when they go cold, which they are sometimes prone to do from outside, they sometimes get shot happy where they want to keep shooting them until they start making them. That's fine. You can't blame them for doing that because they are a good shooting team, but it's like, why do it? You're not making the shots right now. Drive, get to the rim. They have every player on the floor for Boston can get to the rim. So just get to the rim. Jaylen Brown kicks to Tatum. Tatum thought about the three. He decides to take it because he had to with 1 second left. Derek White, though, saves it, though, off the miss. White kicks to Kristaps over to Jaylen Brown to Drew Holiday. Holiday with the reverse, and he misses a 1-foot layup. Another 1-foot layup miss for Boston. Kyrie down the floor to Josh Green in the corner for a triple. Good passing right there by Kyrie. He could have scored, but decided to kick it out to Josh Green for an open three. Trusting your teammate, not doing it all yourself. Derek White, Boston now only up by 19. Dallas on a little run. Maybe there's still life for the Mavericks. 5:30 to go in the third. Kristaps is back in the game. Good decision by Joe Mazzulla. Tatum over to Holiday. Mid-range jumper. Holiday knocks it down. 80 to 59. Stops the little mini run by the Mavericks. Doncic with the basketball. Holiday's got 15.7 boards, 4 assists. I mean, that's a quiet performance from him. No one's really even mentioning that with how well Holiday's playing. He's actually having a good game. Doncic down the floor, though. He lays it in. 5:09 to go in the third. Yeah, that's a good play by Doncic, though, because he had Porzingis on him. I mean, I feel like Doncic is actually one of the only players on the Mavericks team that can take Porzingis head-on, one-on-one. I mean, Gafford and Lively can do it, but a lot of times they don't have a lot of success. I mean, that was a tough shot for Doncic, but he had a lot of balance there, a lot of body control, and he was able to get that shot to fall despite the contact. And now we see Dallas bringing in Hardaway, Tim Hardaway Jr. He went on a flurry in game 4 from 3 when the game was out of reach. Can he knock down some shots to provide a spark off the bench and save this series for Dallas? Get them a win in game 5 after being down by 26. Jaylen Brown inside. Tried to go up for a slam dunk. Good defense from Lively. You got Doncic driving and going up with it. Off the mark. Tatum back the other way. Tatum down the floor, and there's, I think, a foul on Irving to prevent the slam dunk. Probably a good foul by Irving. You never want to pick up fouls, but at this point, if you're Dallas, you just got to make it is tough as possible for Boston to score. Can't give him easy buckets. Tatum would add an easy slam, so I don't mind the foul in that scenario. Tatum's first free throw, though, is good. I don't know if Dallas is already – it has to be because they're in the bonus. Remember, I did say earlier there was a lot of fouls early in the third quarter, so it must mean that they're in the bonus because that was not on a shot. I mean, Tatum was just driving down the floor. He didn't even shoot the ball, so. But Tatum getting a second free throw, and he knocks that one down as well. So Boston back up by 20. Jaylen Brown with 15, 5, and 4. All of Tatum, Brown, and Holiday have similar stat lines. Doing great. They're showing Derek White. I think Derek White's tooth is messed up when he hit the deck. They just showed him smiling. His tooth was messed up. That sucks that he got his tooth damaged a little bit. Hopefully, I don't know what they're going to be able to do with that, but that's rough. But he wants to win. I mean, it's probably worth it to Derek White to win a title, even though he unfortunately had that happen. Still a 20-point game. Dallas misses on the other end. Now Tatum with the basketball. Josh Green on him. Now Doncic switches over to Tatum. Tatum off the dribble, driving into the lane, and he misses the layup. Went too strong off the glass. Doncic back the other way. 5-on-4. Doncic to the rim. Goes up over Horford. What a layup. Josh Green. Well, like he was going to try to follow up with a dunk if Doncic missed, and he kind of fell hard to the deck, but I think he's all right. But now there's a timeout on the floor. 82-64. I mean, the Mavericks are doing everything that they possibly can to hang in there. I mean, they are down by 18, which is better than 26. I mean, they have cut the lead a little bit, and Boston hasn't played as well in the past few minutes as they were earlier in the game in the first half, especially at the end of the second quarter where they were just on fire. But Dallas hasn't done enough either to really make me believe they're going to come back and win. If they can get this thing to around 12 or 10 at the end of the third, there's still a chance. But all it takes is for Boston to go on another like 8-10-0 run at the end of the third quarter, kind of like they did at the end of the first quarter and second quarter. That's when Boston has played their best, is at the end of the quarters. So we'll see in this final 4 minutes and 5 seconds whether the Boston Celtics are going to go on another run to extend this lead back up to over 20. And if they do that, I think it's all she wrote for Dallas. Jason says, wow, that last shot is a killer for Dallas. Yikes. That half-court shot by Peyton Pritchard. And again, just so crazy that he's just able to come into the game like that. Peyton Pritchard hasn't played at all in the first half, and then he just comes in for the 4 seconds and drains a half-court shot. And he did it a few games ago as well. It's just crazy. And I wouldn't really necessarily say that shot, when you look back on it, say, well, if he didn't hit that shot, Dallas would have won. Well, Dallas was already down by a lot. That shot just made it worse. It just added insult to injury. So, yeah, it definitely was a killer. Stephen Cherry says Luka needs to get in better shape during the offseason. I mean, that's a good point. That honestly is a good point. I mean, I think that, I mean, his conditioning, I mean, him and Jokic, I mean, like I said, they're just unique players, but I don't think, I mean, I wouldn't say like his condition, I don't know like what Luka Doncic does, but like he could be in better shape. Especially like I feel like the older that he gets, because a lot of people forget that LeBron James weighed a lot more when he was younger. You know, he got in better shape the older that he got, lost some weight because he knew that he had to. He wouldn't be able to be still in the league right now. Kind of like Zion. Like if Zion wants to still be in the NBA at like 30, 32, he's going to have to lose weight because you're not going to be able to be as explosive, you know, when you get older, when you're overweight. I'm not saying Luka's overweight. I mean, 6'7", 230, but it's just, it's about being in shape, like where your body can maintain the grind of an 82-game season. Because I feel like Luka like has a lot of these minor injuries because it's probably like conditioning. I don't know though. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor or anything, you know, like a sports medicine guy. But I'm just like, I agree with you. I think Luka needs to do a better job with himself so he can be a guy that can, you know, be a great player when he's like 33, 34. Like, he's great now, but he's only 25. Like, he's not going to be able to probably be as effective in the state that he currently is in when he's older if he doesn't, do a better job with that. So I agree. Boston, they're showing the 3-point party. They're 12 of 27 from 3 in this game. And Boston is 40-1 this season, shooting 40% or better from 3 this season. That spells doom for Dallas. They're shooting very well from 3. They haven't shot as well last couple of minutes. They've missed a few threes, but they've shot well for the most part tonight. So you got Tatum dribbling around, trying to drive on P.J. Washington. He loses the basketball out of bounds, but they're going to say that it's Boston basketball. They're going to say Dallas deflected it. They were the last to touch. So Horford will be the inbounder with only 1.9 seconds left on the shot clock. Now they're having Derek White be the inbounder. Horford was down there, but now they just switched with Derek White. 3:43 to go in the third. Mazzulla doesn't look too concerned, but he doesn't look as happy as he was when they were up by 26. I mean, there's still a twinge of doubt. It's not over yet. Derek White takes to Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown almost hit a really tough shot at the buzzer, but couldn't get it to fall. But Derek White there for the offensive rebound. Unbelievable. Boston's effort. Derek White kicks to Jaylen Brown again. Brown goes up with it. His shot is short. Horford with the offensive rebound. He misses another offensive rebound, and he misses again. Doncic finally with the board. Boston had 4 opportunities on that possession and couldn't get the shot to fall. The effort was there, just couldn't get anything going. And then Hardaway misses a 3, and oh man, he's hurt. A little gimpy on his leg there. Jaylen Brown misses a 3 on the other end. Tatum gets the ball, but I think there's a foul on the floor on Horford. So it's going to be Dallas basketball, but that is not good for the Mavericks that Tim Hardaway, the guy that they brought into the game, he's a veteran. He can knock down a lot of triples. Dallas being down by as much as they are. Jason Kidd bringing him in, hoping to get that spark, but it's tough to shoot the basketball well when your foot's hurt or hamstring. So we'll have to see if he's all right. Hopefully he's good to go. But Dante Exum, he's at the free throw line. He had a 3 earlier, but other than that, hasn't done too much. But he's at the line since Horford fouled him. Plus, even though the NBA season's almost done, especially if it ends tonight with the Celtics victory, the draft's coming up too. We got the draft in a little over a week. I have to see which will be the next stars in the league. It doesn't matter to me as long as Bronny James does not get drafted at least in the first round. Even if Bronny James gets drafted like in the late second round, that's good for me. But if a team takes him in the first round or the lottery when he only averaged 4 points last year just because of his name, that's insane. Or to keep, especially if it's the Lakers, to keep LeBron on the team, that's just. If it's me, like, nobody should draft him. The Lakers should just take him as an undrafted free agent. But it's Bronny James. They can't let that happen. But you got the draft coming up, so. Other than that situation with Bronny, it's going to be interesting to see where all these players end up and where they get drafted and how high or low. But Exum, he missed the second free throw, so he split him. So it's 82-65. Doncic just isn't having his best game. Neither's Irving, and that's a massive problem for the Mavericks. They need their stars to play well a lot more so than Boston does, and they're just not getting it done. Brown over to Hauser. Hauser in the lane, knocking down the little floater. That's a good play by Sam Hauser, showing he's more than a three-point shooter. Kyrie Irving trying to drive by Hauser, which he can do that, but instead kicks to Josh Green in the corner off the mark. Not a bad decision by Irving. Josh Green hit a 3 earlier in the quarter, but couldn't get that one to fall. 1:50 to go in the third. Jaylen Brown, top of the key. Got P.J. Washington on him. He can win that matchup, takes the mid-range shot, and it's good. And just like that, Boston's back up by 20 with a 21-point lead. Josh Green down the floor. Driving on Tatum, goes up with it. Tried to do a slam dunk, and he missed. Good defense from Tatum. Tatum kind of caught no man's land, tried to kick it to Horford, and it's a turnover. Bad decision there. Doncic going up with it off the glass, off the mark, but Keebler with the offensive rebound. He's back in the game. They took Hardaway Jr. out since he was a little gimpy. P.J. Washington misses the triple. Now Boston slowing it down. Tatum content to let the clock burn out of this third quarter. Jaylen Brown, top of the key. 50 seconds left. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Getting to the rim. Instead kicks it out to Tatum for three, and his shot's off the mark. But Drew Holiday with the offensive rebound. That's another reason Boston's winning this game. The offensive rebounding has been exquisite from Boston. Hauser in the corner for three. His shot went in and out. Now P.J. Washington with the rebound. Dallas needs a bucket in the worst way. Under 30 seconds. Doncic trying to get by Hauser. Goes up over Hauser off the left side of the glass, and he does get that shot to fall. Shot clock is off. Boston should get the last shot as long as they let the clock go all the way out before taking the shot. 10 seconds left. TD Garden, all the fans are on their feet. Pretty solid third quarter for Boston, even though they didn't score all that much, but their defense was pretty solid. Jaylen Brown, half-second jump shot off the mark, and that's the end of the third. (86-67). 19-point lead for the Boston Celtics, and there's only 12 minutes left for the Dallas Mavericks to possibly extend this series. I mean, time's about out on the Mavericks season. I don't think they're going to be able to come back. Is it feasible? It is feasible to come back from 19 down in a quarter, but as well as Boston's playing, and Dallas has just been too inconsistent, especially on defense, I think it might be about done. Jason, the old millennial, says, do you remember the first time you watched the NBA Finals? My first time was watching the Chicago Bulls beat the Portland Trail Blazers in 1992. Yeah, that was a long time ago. I mean, Michael Jordan back in 1992, just such a fantastic player. So fun to watch. My dad really enjoyed watching Michael Jordan. And obviously, North Carolina, he played for the Tar Heels. So, that was just so fun. But, for me, I think the first finals that I remember was probably the 2008 one when the Celtics won. I was so young, though. I barely remember it. I more so remember watching the 2009 finals, but I do vaguely remember the 2008 finals where the Celtics won against the Lakers. So, yeah, I would officially say the 2008 finals. But, I was very, very little. So, it was very vague. But, I've seen it, replays of it on, YouTube and stuff. And then seeing it, I remember seeing that kind of. But yeah, I would say the 2008 finals, but, the 2009 ones I remember better live. But, yeah, I can't believe it was that long ago. 2008, it doesn't sound like it was that long ago, but it's wow, it's 2024. We're at the 2024 NBA Finals. And the last time the Celtics won, their last one was in 2008. Celtics have all these titles in their history, but they haven't won one in 16 years. Some franchises have never won. Dallas only has one title. I remember the 2011 Finals. Dirk, beating Miami. The LeBron-led Heat, Bosh and Wade and all that. So, I remember that one very well. I was a little older. But, yeah, Dirk Nowitzki. That's the only title for the Mavericks in their entire history was in 2011. So, it would be big for their franchise to get another title. So, Stephen Cherry says, do you think John Morant will return to MVP form in Memphis? That's a great question. I avoided the John Morant situation like the plague. I didn't want to talk about it. It's a messed up situation with him. Not even with the off the court stuff with all that and him getting in trouble multiple times for the same garbage. All that is its own other thing. And whether that ruins your perception of Morant or what. I don't really have many thoughts on it. He's a young guy. He's just, it's more so just being dumb than anything else. But for me, the bigger issue with John Morant was how I feel like he's getting better, but the way he used to play. The guy would just drive in the paint with reckless abandon and try to dunk the ball, over guys that are just way taller. Like, that's cool. It's flashy to do that. But, I mean, he was hurting himself. I remember one time he fell, and it looked like he just, completely broke his whole arm off. He ended up being okay, but it was like, how is this dude even on the floor? So he can't do that because he's just going to become Derrick Rose 2.0. He can't drive like crazy and expect to have a long career. To have longevity, you have to be smart with your body. You can't take unnecessary risks. I mean, you can't be like Cam Newton in the 2015 Super Bowl where you don't dive for the ball, but then in games where you're down by 17, you're diving for the end zone in the fourth quarter when you have no chance to win anyway and you're sacrificing your body, but you don't dive for the ball in the Super Bowl against the Broncos. Kind of like Derek White. Like him hurting his tooth or whatever. Like, does he want that? No, but would it make more sense for Derek White to have that happen to him in the regular season, or would it make more sense for him to have that happen to him in the finals? In the finals. Because it's like, you want to win. This matters. So, yeah, you don't want to get hurt, but if you're going to get hurt, it makes more sense to get hurt when the game matters more than when it don't. If that makes sense. I mean, that's just the way I feel. And it's like, Ja Morant, I mean, he would do ridiculous plays, like his team's down by 30, no chance to win, and this guy's going, it's dumb. Like, why are you going to go up for a dunk like that? So, will he return to MVP form? To answer your question, I think two things have to happen. He's got to stop being dumb off the court, and on the floor, he can't risk getting hurt, by being reckless. So, hey, he just needs to be less reckless and more smart on and off the floor, and I think that he can. But it's all going to be him. I mean, you as a player, for the most part, unless you unfortunately just have bad luck, like the same injury keeps happening or you just can't stay healthy. You as the player, you hold the cards for whether you're going to be successful or not. If you have a lot of talent, I mean, if you work out and you stay right on and off the floor and you stay healthy the best you can, you're going to be fine. You're going to have a great career, but you can't be dumb. So Ja Morant just has to be smarter. And I think that he can return to MVP form, but only time will tell. I mean, that's going to be up to him. 10:20 to go in the fourth quarter. Both teams fighting for the ball. It's a shot clock violation on that play. Looks like Derrick Jones is banged up on the floor. Hopefully he's okay. I mean, Dallas can't suffer an injury right now. Already down by as much as they are. I mean, if you have Derrick Jones unable to return to the game, I mean, that's definitely not going to help. Yeah, it looks like he just kind of, that sucks. It looked like as Tatum was trying to go for the ball, P.J. Washington kind of fell on top of Tatum, and then it fell on his leg. Yeah, that sucks. Hopefully he's okay. Yeah, he's trying to walk it off, but, I mean, he's a lanky guy. Usually when you're lanky like that, it helps with leg injuries, like being able to avoid, severe injuries or whatever, but that could have been a lot worse. Luckily for him, he's still out there, but he's got to be feeling some pain. But Derrick Jones, the aforementioned Derrick Jones, tries to lay it in. He can't get it to fall. Boston hasn't scored in a while, but Dallas isn't even taking advantage of it. Boston hasn't scored in 3 minutes, but Dallas hasn't either. So it's how are they supposed to come back and have a shot to win? I think they just called an illegal screen on Boston, but the Celtics are giving Dallas chance after chance, not capitalizing on it. Off of it. I mean, if Dallas had scored on their last few possessions when Boston hasn't scored, they could have had this thing down to 10. And if this was a 10-point game, TD Garland would be getting very anxious. I mean, Porzingis has only played 12 minutes. He has 3 points. He hasn't even really had to be as effective as I thought he would for Boston to be winning. Dallas just isn't getting the job done. P.J. Washington for 3, and he misses. A wide open shot. Couldn't get it to fall. Doncic fighting for it. Ball's out of bounds off the Celtics. So good play by Doncic to have the Mavericks retain possession. But the Celtics, I mean, they are giving them chance after chance. They have fallen apart on offense the past few minutes, but it hasn't mattered. And then a steal. What a play by Derek White. Ball ends up in P.J. Washington's hands, but White had it for a second. That's just taking more time. Irving for 3 off the mark, and he rushed that one. Still had a few seconds left. Jaylen Brown down the floor. I mean, I feel like they're just going to run out of time. It's not even going to matter. They're going to run out of time. 9:15 to go in the fourth. Jaylen Brown sizing it up. 5 on the shot clock. In the lane. Kicks to Porzingis. What a play by Jaylen Brown. Right as I said that Porzingis hadn't been doing much. And he's right there for a slam dunk. Good pass by Jaylen Brown. 21-point game. Timeout on the floor. But these past few minutes are probably going to be what ended up destroying Dallas' chance of being able to come back and win. They had a chance. People are going to be like, oh, well, they never even had a chance to win. Well, they just had around 3.5 minutes where Boston didn't score, and they didn't score either. So, is what it is for Dallas. Stephen Cherry says early prediction for NBA Finals next season, Milwaukee versus Denver. Not a bad prediction. I mean, I think Denver, after what happened this past season, I think they're going to be hungry to try to go back and get back to the finals and win a title after losing this past season. But I don't know. I mean, Denver's team, I mean, they're going to have to find a way, maybe to draft another good player, or I don't know, like maybe they add someone in the trade market. But like their team this year just was not as good as last year's. And I felt like Jamal Murray, for the most part, he did not play as well as he did the previous season either. Like I felt like, other than like in the Lakers series, Jamal Murray played pretty well in that series, but other than that, he did not really have, a great, especially against the Timberwolves. He did not play that well in the NBA playoffs. But maybe they'll come back and do better next year. And then with Milwaukee, that's just going to come down to Giannis staying healthy. Like the Bucks won the title back in 2021. And after that, these past couple years, the Bucks, Giannis has been hurt in the playoffs. That's why Milwaukee can't get anywhere. So Damian Lillard and Giannis have to both stay healthy in the playoffs and throughout the entire season for Milwaukee to have a shot. Plus, like Chris Middleton's getting older. I don't know. I mean, the Bucks are in an interesting situation. Plus, you also have Doc Rivers as the head coach. And most people do not trust Doc Rivers. I was really shocked that the Bucks hired Doc Rivers. I don't really actually understand why they fired Adrian Griffin. I mean, I'm not saying Adrian Griffin's a good coach or anything, but the thing is that he had a good record, and his record was better than Doc Rivers was in the second half of the season. That didn't even make any sense. I mean, I think they said that some of the players didn't really think Adrian Griffin was like good like as a defensive coach, or they just didn't really like him. I don't know. But again, I'm not in those circles. I have no idea. But for whatever reason, the Bucks decided, hey, we're gonna fire a coach that was 31-13, and then hire a guy that most people perennially call them like one of the most mediocre coaches of all time. Like he won the one title with the Celtics in 2008 because they had an insane team. But like a lot of people felt that the Celtics should have won 2 or 3 titles with those players. They only won 1. And he hasn't ever won a title anywhere else. And he's had a lot of good teams. I'm not saying Doc Rivers is a bad coach, but Doc Rivers has had a lot of great teams. He's coached more teams than almost any NBA coach ever. He's got a lot of wins, but not a lot of playoff success. And after the 76ers fired him, I was just like, why? The Bucks are going to fire their coach midseason, hire him, and then what happens? They lose early. But again, Giannis was hurt. Can't really blame Doc Rivers, but I don't know. So your prediction could happen, Steven. It definitely could. Like I'm not saying it can't happen, but I would think it'd be more likely Denver gets back to the finals than Milwaukee next year, but they could. It's just Giannis and Lillard have to stay healthy. Maybe draft a good player. We'll see. But Boston could be back too. I mean, Boston could definitely be back. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with them, like with trades or, Horford's age. I don't really know. But right now, this year, after Dallas does hit a 3 to cut it to 18, it definitely looks like the Celtics are going to win the title this year. Played excellent basketball in this series. Just incredible. It's not over yet, but the title is almost theirs. Derek White for 3, and he knocks it down. Blows the lead back up to 21. 91-70. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be always every offseason. People are looking forward to next year. And I'll be remembering that, Steven. Kind of like you said, remember the receipts. You said the receipt. You're the one, right, Steven Cherry? You said the receipts with the Dallas Mavericks. You said the Mavericks were going to win. 2 clutch players in Irving and Doncic. So I'm going to remember your prediction here for the Bucks and Nuggets. I'm going to remember that. And if you're right, that'll be crazy if you are right with the Bucks and Nuggets with your early prediction. I mean, early predictions are early predictions. It's very tough to get them right. You know, I've made some early predictions on my channel that have just absolutely have aged poorly. Like they just terrible predictions because they're so far out. Like you don't know what's going to happen. But yes, like I absolutely remember. So I mean, I was wrong too. I said I was giving too much credit to Dallas, and again, that's holding that Boston does win. But I think I said Celtics in 6. I keep forgetting. Did I say Celtics in 6 or 7? Because I made my prediction video, but I honestly just can't even remember. But I think I said Celtics in 6. But Dallas did even worse. So I gave Dallas too much credit. I mean, you're right, Steven. I mean, Irving and Doncic are clutch. They're great players. But the rest of the team, I kept hammering it home, the rest of the team is not good enough. Even with the additions of Gafford and P.J. Washington, the rest of their team just isn't good enough. And Boston has showed that. Tatum with a step back, and he gets the friendly roll on their own court. Sometimes you just get the friendly roll there, the shooter's touch. 96-75, 7 to go in the 4th. I mean, I picked the Washington Huskies to beat the Michigan Wolverines in the college football championship game. That was tough. Like, I never pick with my heart. I never do. I usually always pick with my brain. And I should have picked Michigan. But I was like, Penix, like, they're going to do it. But I don't know, man. Like, Penix, he tried, but he kind of got banged up. I don't know. Like, it is what it is. I shouldn't have picked Washington. Everybody told me, like, got to go with Michigan. I picked Alabama to beat Michigan if Milroe didn't fumble. But it is what it is. Like, I do bad predictions all the time. I get games wrong all the time. But that's why they're predictions. But I just felt Boston. I really did. I felt Boston this year. And they're going to do it. I mean, they're up 22 with 6:31 to go. So, I mean, I feel like they got it in the bag. I mean, I hate when I have to be like, oh, well, they got it, but there's still time. I don't like, because they're going to win. The Celtics are going to win, but there's just enough time left where, I mean, you never know. But it is over. I mean, Boston should have this thing. I also got the UFL championship right. I picked the Stallions. That was an easy pick, right? The Birmingham Stallions. I don't know if Steven, if you watched the UFL or when the USFL and XFL were on last year and the year before, but I picked Birmingham because now they've three-peated. And a lot of people are like, well, now the Birmingham Stallions three-peated, so is the UConn Huskies, are they going to be able to three-peat in college basketball? We'll see. I think UConn's team's worse this year, but it is Dan Hurley since he decided to make the smart move and not take the Lakers job. I don't think Dan Hurley watched my video, but I was like, don't take the job, and he didn't, so he was smart. So it's 98-78. Dallas just knocked down a 3, but they're still down by 20. Now it's under 6 to go. I mean, Doncic now has 26 points, 12 boards. And see, that's the frustrating thing with Doncic. Like, you look at the stat sheet now, and you see that he has 26 and 12, and it's like, okay, he's played good. But most of his points have come recently. And again, his teammates haven't done the job. They haven't helped him out. So despite his stat line, it still isn't all that good, right? Like 26 and 12, it feels empty. So it's kind of like Dak Prescott throwing for 300 yards against the Packers in the playoffs this year in the wild card in the NFL. And people are like, oh, he didn't play good at all. Well, I mean, it kind of is fair. Most of his yards came when the game was out of reach. So, I mean, Doncic is fantastic. I mean, he's better than Dak Prescott in the NFL. Like if you're comparing like how great both players are, but still, like Doncic's points in this game just haven't mattered. He only had 9 points at half, and that's when Dallas needed him to play better. It was when the game was still in reach. Doncic missed the 3. Jaylen Brown with the board, and you know that Boston is going to do everything they can to be slow with the ball, content to burn the clock out. And I don't know how Jaylen Brown saved that ball from going out of bounds. That was crazy. Tiptoeing the line like that. Tatum trying to drive on Doncic. Nowhere to go. Cut off. 5 seconds on the shot clock. He resets. Gets by Doncic. Up on 2 players, Hardaway and Doncic. What a play by Tatum. That's a sick shot by Tatum. Probably was fouled too. Tatum's got 27.7 boards, 11 assists. Those assists, man, that's a big reason why they're winning. He's been much more efficient than he has been recently, but his teammates, Holiday, Brown, they've played well. Hasn't just been Tatum. But Tatum, he's had probably his best game of the finals. Like all-around game anyway. Most complete game. Tatum scores again. He's just adding insult to injury to the Dallas Mavericks. And now it's 102-78. Timeout Dallas, but I think their timeout's a little foodle here. It's too little too late. Tatum in takeover mode. Jason says, that's cool. That was a great finals with KU player Paul Pierce winning finals MVP. Oh, absolutely. Like, Paul Pierce was great in college. Massive player in the pros. Just great player. Fun to watch. He's a high energy guy. Like, he's made some like funny comments when he was commentating for a while on ESPN. Like that ended because he got like controversial, had a controversy or whatever. But still, like Paul Pierce, he's a funny guy. He was a great player. Fun to watch for sure. And that was a great team. Like Doc Rivers couldn't mess that thing up, right? Like no way they couldn't win that year. They were just playing. They were at the top of their game. Such a fun team. Steven Cherry says sleeper team next season is the Houston Rockets. Yeah, the Houston Rockets quietly building something down there. I mean, they still do. Like they had like the youngest team in the NBA a couple years ago by far. And obviously the Thunder are very young too, but like their team's just full of stars, young stars. But the Rockets, I mean, they had Eric Gordon for the longest time, and he was like the only older guy on the team. Like everybody else was young and like didn't have any experience. But like they've added some talent. They have a shot next year to be a factor. I mean, I don't know if like they're going to be anywhere title worthy in title contention, but they're going to be better, which is nice to see. I mean, those Rockets teams when they had Chris Paul and James Harden back when they were cool with each other, you had Eric Gordon, Serge Ibaka, all those players, like they were pretty fun to watch. They were a pretty good team. PJ Tucker was on the team as well, but like all that imploded when Chris Paul and Harden kind of, they got into it and they stopped appearing in commercials with each other. Those old Chris Paul, James Harden commercials, like I feel like a lot of like the celebrity commercials these days. I don't know about you guys, but like the modern day celebrity, like basketball player, football player commercials they're like cringy. They feel forced. And even though those older commercials were forced too, I feel like they were funnier. Like I really like those Chris Paul, James Harden commercials on State Farm. I thought they were funny. A lot of them were funny. Like that one where James Harden like burns out, like he puts like metal in the microwave and then it blows up, and then his outline's all on the wall and you see where his beard is, right? And then like they're like, James, it's you. And he's like, that's not me. I didn't do it. And it was him. He's the one that blew up the microwave and burnt the side of the wall because his outline was like, it was so funny. And like, even though it's a State Farm commercial, it was still like an ad, but it didn't feel forced. It was just because like, that was just funny. The concept of the commercial was funny and like incorporating, like, yeah, it's State Farm, it's insurance. It's a great commercial. I like those older commercials. I really did. I feel like the newer like ad commercials with like celebrities, they're just not good. Or like the sports players, they're not as good. They're not all bad. Some of them are funny, chuckle worthy, but nowhere near as good as they used to be. Steven Cherry says, shout out to Tatum and Brown. They earned it. I still hate Boston sports team. Hey, I don't blame you. I mean, you like what you like. Everybody likes certain teams, don't like certain teams. I mean, I don't really have a lot of teams I just outright hate. I try to avoid, like loathing teams because it makes makes watching sports less fun to me when you really don't like a team. Like I know a lot of people say when you don't like a team, like it makes it more interesting because of the fact that like you don't like that team, and then when they lose, like you really enjoy it. So also people say like when you gamble, oh, like I gambled on this game and now I'm like enjoying the game because it's more interesting. Dude, you don't have to gamble. Just watch the game. It can still be fun. I mean, I have teams I like, but it's not like a deal breaker if they lose. I'm not one of those people like if they lose and I just, get really upset and I'm like mad for like a week. Like some people get that way. Like I get it. Like if you're in state or whatever, like you have a rivalry like Carolina Duke or Indiana Purdue, and then like you go to work, like if you work at your job and then other people are a fan of the other team and then they're kind of like making fun of you, like that adds to the rivalry when you live around like people that are a fan of the other team or work with people. I get that. But like for me, I just usually like, you know what? Like, yeah, I like Carolina basketball better than Duke, but like, if Duke wins, it's fine. I don't get too, hampered up about it. But that's just me. I mean, I would rather Carolina win, but you know what I mean. Luka Doncic got banged up a little bit. He slipped. I don't know if it was a wet spot or if he just lost his footing. He was kind of clutching his leg, but it looks like he's okay and he's gonna be able to finish the game out. But yeah, Luka Doncic, he's got to make sure he doesn't, get hurt more often in the future. Like, he's got to do better with conditioning because he's got a lot of minor injuries, and that's going to catch up with him older he gets. Jason says San Antonio fans should be happy you can build a team around Wembanyama. I mean, that's the thing. Like, what's so funny, people talk about like Monty Williams, for example. Like, I'm not saying Monty Williams is a good coach, but like the guy won a lot of games with Phoenix because he had good players, won a lot of games, gets fired, comes the Pistons head coach, and the Pistons suck. Like they're horrible. So it's like he isn't winning anything. Look at Popovich. Greg Popovich. A lot of people feel that Greg Popovich is one of the better to best head coaches in NBA history. But it's like he won when he had Tony Parker and Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili. When he had those guys, they were winning and they won multiple titles. But it's like they aged out. Popovich is still head coach, but his team's young. He doesn't really have that many great players. He's not winning anything. But no one's saying Popovich can't coach. It's just when you don't have good players, you're not going to win. If Nick Saban had Vanderbilt's players, it's not like when Nick Saban was at Alabama, if he had Vanderbilt's players, he wouldn't win a lot of games. It's not like, oh my goodness, he could whip this team into shape and make him win 11 games. You have to have good players. Coaching matters and player development matters. If you're a good player development coach, it matters. But if you have garbage players or just guys that aren't good, you're not gonna have success. It doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. And Popovich is a great example of that. Greg Popovich hasn't been able to win anything with the Spurs. Hasn't been able to win anything the past few years because he just doesn't have the players. But you're right. Like, I agree with Wembanyama. As long as he stays healthy. And that's the key with Victor Wembanyama. And I've said this since I first heard about him. With him being as lanky and as tall as he is, a 7'4" guy that, his arms and legs are like pencils. He's going to have to find a way to not get hurt. He avoided that in year one. All credit to him. Didn't get hurt, but you just don't want him to have a leg problem, knee issues. So as long as he stays healthy, yeah, he can build around it. That guy's insane. Like, he's long. Not many people dunked on him, but Trace Jackson Davis did. That dunk Trace Jackson Davis had on Victor Wembanyama, that was a sick play. Don't know how he did it. Jackson Davis is a great player, but man, I didn't know he could dunk over Victor Wembanyama, but nobody can barely dunk on the guy. He's so tall, so long. He can run the floor. He can dribble. He can shoot threes. He's incredible. So, but definitely, San Antonio's got to build around him, though. If Popovich wants to win again before he, ages out completely or has to retire, he's going to have to do it soon, but we'll see. Wembanyama is a great piece to build around as long as he's healthy. They're showing on the screen Tatum with 31, Brown with 21, combining for 52 points, but still the rest of the team, though, had more than 50% of the points. Came from guys not named Tatum and Brown, and that's the most important thing. Tatum and Brown had great games, but the rest of the team played fantastic. And now you're starting to see banner 18 signs in the crowd. It's all about 18. Steven Cherry says Brad Stevens built this squad. And I remember, you remember too, Steven. You remember all the Brad Stevens to Indiana rumors? That was funny. People were like, Brad Stevens to Indiana, when Archie Miller got fired. It's like, come on, man. Brad Stevens is not going to go back to college to coach at Indiana when he got the top job at the Celtics when Danny Ainge retired. It's like, this guy has it made. I mean, he doesn't have to worry about NIL and keeping players happy and all the stuff that has to deal with college sports. He is at the top position at the Celtics, arguably the most recognizable franchise in the NBA, unless you think that it's the Lakers. And all he has to do is just build a roster of 15 guys. And I feel like right now we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but right now he's got it made because the Celtics players, we don't know off the floor, but they don't seem from like press, coverage, like when they're in the media or when they're on the floor, they don't look like hot ego guys. Tatum and Brown, for years, I remember people like, oh, well, they need to trade Jaylen Brown. Tatum and Brown don't mix. They don't work together. They're going to get into it eventually. The stardom's going to get to their – it hasn't to this point. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are both fine with each other. They like playing together. They know that they both make each other better. And I feel like even though most people do, associate with the Celtics, like Tatum's the star of the team, Jaylen Brown's right there. Some people even like Brown better than Tatum. So it's like they're cool with each other. There's no animosity. There's no egos. Like when you had Harden and Durant and Irving, that just didn't work with the Nets. That was a disaster. But it's like that's great for Brad Stevens. And then it's like he builds the rest of the players, rest of the team with guys that are content with their roles. Like all of the other players on the team for the Celtics are content not being a number one or number two option. Derek White loves his role. He's fine with his role of being the third option on a great team. Drew Holiday is fine being that defensive showstopper that can have scoring outbursts sometimes. Kristaps and Al Horford just wants to win his first title, which looks like he's going to get it. He's just happy to be back with Boston. And then you talk about Kristaps again, like he's a good player, but he's not expecting to be that guy. Like he's the first or second option. The team's just built so well. Brad Stevens, he's just lucky that his two stars are great towards each other. Not just they're great players, but towards each other. They have no animosity, no egos, all that kind of stuff. It seems like it's all good. And that's awesome to see. Jason says, I think this game is over, and you wrote that a few minutes ago. Yeah, I will say it is safe to say that the game is over. Despite Derek White airballing a three, the game is over. And definitely you talk about Kyrie Irving going off to the bench. Jason Kidd taking him out of the game. He realized, like, it's done. And now the Celtics are going to start bringing in some of their bench players. Luke Cornett's about to come in. Good sportsmanship. Some of the younger guys. I mean, even though like the Mavericks are going to lose, I mean, this is a great, moment for some of these guys on the bench to be out there on the floor. Like something that they can remember for the rest of their life. So that's awesome. They're showing Joe Mazzulla back in 2016, 2017 that he was an assistant coach for the Maine Red Claws, the G League team for the Celtics. And now he's the head coach and he's going to win a title. That's crazy in just 7 short years. Jason has almost a triple-double for Tatum. He had a fantastic game. One of the most complete games I've seen from Jason Tatum in a playoff game. Just so well. And you see Al Horford's dad. Horford's leaving the game. He is so happy for him. He's always at his son's games. It's crazy. It's just such a nice thing to see for these Celtics players. You just hope they keep that humble spirit inside them. Once you win, you don't want to let it get to your head. Celtics deserve it. Steven Cherry says Eric Spoelstra, best coach in the NBA, in my opinion. He's up there. He's definitely, you could argue that. I don't disagree. I mean, he runs good sets. He runs good sets, and I like gets them open shots. He does a good job. I mean, he was a good enough coach not to get fired after with LeBron being there, and all that. Like LeBron's gotten almost every coach that has been a head coach for LeBron fired, but Eric Spoelstra didn't get fired. Jason says Tatum and Holiday can win a gold medal this summer. I mean, that would just be icing on the cake. Like if Tatum and Holiday can win a gold medal in the Olympics on top of winning a title that in the same year, that would be crazy. Jason says Horford is probably one of the few players to have 2 college basketball championships and an NBA championship. Yeah, there probably isn't that many other players that are on that list. Absolutely. I mean, some of those UCLA players in the past that they qualify. Wooden, winning all those titles like that, some of those guys. But other than that, there aren't many players. Horford's like the most modern one to do it. Because, I mean, you're going to have to wait for these UConn players to get into the NBA for maybe one of them to win a championship in the NBA on a team after winning 2 college titles. But we'll see. Like, Horford, we'll see what happens with those UConn players. But, yeah, Horford definitely one of the only ones to do it in history. Happy for Horford. He's a good player. He adapted his game. He got better at things he wasn't good at earlier in his career when he was at Florida and early on in his NBA career. He got a lot better, and that's why he's still playing today. Even though you would like to see new players get to join the NBA, it is cool sometimes seeing an older veteran, be able to win a title when they haven't been able to do it before. A lot of people want Chris Paul to do it. He hasn't been able to win a title. But Chris Paul, just a fantastic player, but hasn't gotten a ring. He still hasn't got one. We'll see if he can, but his time's about over. But Horford's going to get his. But Tatum getting emotional on the sideline, realizing they did it. Now that they're showing Tatum's kid on the sideline as well, that's awesome to see. Deuce Tatum, always at his father's games, man, and he's getting to see his dad win a title. That's awesome. Under 30 seconds to go. 106-88. The bench, it's been cleared out. All of them. All the bench guys are in the game. Hauser misses a 3. Dallas with the ball. I don't know if they're going to just dribble it out or take another shot. But regardless, this game's over. 106-88. Looks like they're just going to dribble it out, and they do. What a win for Boston. I mean, they didn't just win. I mean, they dominated this game. And it didn't even take much from Kristaps Porzingis. Just an incredible performance. And that's it, folks. The NBA, the 2024 NBA season is over. That's a wrap. The Boston Celtics got it done. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, the monkey is off their back. They have officially won an NBA title. I feel like Brown and Tatum are going to have a lot more people. Even if you don't like the Celtics, we're like them. And either of those players, they're going to have a lot more respect to them now on their name. People were just saying they couldn't do it. They couldn't get it done. And there's Tatum, still emotional. He's picking up his son. I mean, it's just cool to see. It really is. I wasn't expecting this. I mean, hey, that was a good prediction earlier by Paul T, who ended up leaving early, but he said Celtics by 15. Good prediction. It was very close. Ended up being Celtics by 18. Stephen Cherry says, can't believe Bucks let the Celtics get a holiday. Yeah, that was bad. That was a bad decision by the Bucks. I was actually shocked they let him go too. Just like I was shocked the Celtics ended up getting, rid of Smart, but ended up working out because Smart ended up getting hurt this season. So he wouldn't have been as effective. We don't know if he would have got hurt with Boston, but you just never know. But still, it ended up working out for the Boston Celtics that they got Drew Holiday, and it was a bad decision for the Bucks to get rid of him. He's a good player. He's not the best offensive player in the world, but he's a glue guy. And he's an ultimate glue guy. He's not just, a good defensive player. That's it. He can give you 25, 30 points. And then he also is one of the best defenders in the league. So, Holiday is a major asset. And, I don't know if Boston wins if they don't have him. The entire team pieced together by Brad Stevens. It was an incredible job. Just an absolute incredible job by Brad Stevens, and a bad decision by the Bucks to let him go. Jason says Dallas fans should be happy to get back to the NBA Finals for the third time in my lifetime. I mean, the thing is that falling short, it's horrible. It's one of the worst feelings in the world. But would you rather make it to the finals and lose, or would you rather lose in the first round? I mean, you have to say you'd rather lose in the finals because at least you made it, right? You got close. You didn't win it, but you made it to the end. You got to the end. It shows that you're this close. I mean, who knows? Will Dallas even get back to the finals? We don't know. But the thing is that the Dallas Mavericks were close. And if they make a couple more moves, like maybe add another, get another good draft pick or add a couple more good players, Kyrie, we'll see how much longer he's going to be really good. But Doncic, he's still in his prime. He's not even in his prime yet. He's a young guy, but he's got to take care of his body. But the thing is that the Mavericks were close, and they've only won one title. So this is good for their franchise. It was good to get here. No one thought they were. People thought it was going to be the Timberwolves or the Nuggets or the Thunder out of the West. No one thought it was going to be the Mavericks. They made good moves in the offseason. They just don't have that good enough of a team yet to win a title. But they got close, and that's commendable. So if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, I totally understand why you're upset. I would be too. But it was still good to get here at the very least. And then Jackson says, for the 18th time in franchise history, the Boston Celtics are NBA champions. It's a lot of titles. I mean, when you win a lot, people don't like you. That's the way it works. But Celtics haven't won one since 2008. This is a very humble team. Like I said, I hope they stay humble. But this was a fun NBA playoffs to watch. It was fun. There was some blowouts, but it was fun. And this was a pretty fun series, except for that one bad game where the Mavericks just blew out the Celtics. That was a terrible game. But other than that, it was mostly fun. But the Boston Celtics, 2024 NBA title champions, won their 18th title. Tatum and Brown getting their first. Horford getting his first. Awesome to see. Holiday now has two, but it was a fun series to watch. Sorry for Dallas fans. Tough that they fell short, but maybe they'll be back. We'll see. But we're going to have to see what happens in the offseason. And next year, will the Celtics be back to try to win another one back-to-back? Or will another team from the East be able to supplant the Celtics in the finals and play someone from the West? Only time will tell. But congratulations to the Boston Celtics for winning 106-88. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. If you like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. It really helps out the channel. We're trying to get to 3,000 subs with your guys' support. Hopefully we can get there. Appreciate your guys' support so much. Share the stream out on social media as well. Tell all your friends about the channel. If you know a sports fan in your life, they enjoy watching NBA, NFL, college basketball, college football, then this is the channel for them. I talk about all those sports. I'm sure they would enjoy it a lot. But it would have really appreciated if you let other people know about the channel. But do appreciate all you guys for being here tonight. It was a lot of fun doing the show. Sad to see the season end. I tried to do as many streams as possible. I had a lot going on, but was able to fit in some streams. It was fun. And I'll be back next year for more streams. I'm going to keep doing content in the off season for all these sports. As college football gets around the corner in NFL, I'll be starting to do preseason stuff for that and then do predictions for those sports. When the season's going on, we're going to keep moving on here on Only Talk Sports, keep the content flowing for sure. But the NBA season is over. It's a wrap. Jay said, what do you think about 5 different teams that won in the last 5 years? To be honest, my only takeaway from that, Jason, is that shows you how competitive the NBA is right now. The NBA at the top is so competitive. There's so many great players. So many teams have great players that it makes the margin for error at the top super thin. That's what I think. You don't have the Lakers and the Celtics back in the day winning all those titles like that, or even Michael Jordan with the Bulls, like having these kind of like mini dynasties. Same thing with like college basketball with UCLA winning all those titles, even though UConn's won back-to-back. That's what I think. 5 different teams have won in the last 5 years because there's so many great players at the top in this league. So many teams have great players. And it makes it where if one injury happens or this team just has a bad series, kind of like Denver against Minnesota, new teams can get it done. Now, we'll see if next year it's a different team. Maybe it's another team that comes out, like the Thunder. Maybe the Thunder it'll be their year with all the youth. But the Celtics will have a great chance to do it again next year. But that's what I think, Jason. That's why it's been so tough for the Celtics to get their first title with Tatum and Brown, because of the amount of great teams that there are. But they finally got it done, got the monkey off their back, destroyed the narrative they couldn't do it. Steven says, I still prefer old school NBA. Today's league is a 3-point contest. I agree with you, Steven. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, I wasn't really alive much for that. I mean, when I was younger, it was more so like that. But even then, when I was a little kid, you still had Curry and Ray Allen. But now today, it is just a 3-point contest. It isn't as fun, even though people think it's like back and forth shooting the three. But it was more fun like when you had to grind out games, and it was like 85-80 type of scores. I agree. That was better. I've seen a lot of those highlights on YouTube. It was better. It's not awful today, but It's still watchable. I don't watch the NBA as much as I watch the NFL, college basketball, or college football, but I'll still watch it. But that is a big reason why it is tough to watch. Not enough defense. I think defense making a bit of a comeback. It is. Defense making a bit of a comeback. But I do think the offense needs to be a little bit more varied. It needs to be less emphasis just on threes. Threes need to still be there, but you need to have more variety. I agree with you, Steven. But glad, even though you like the old NBA better, still glad you still watch it and we're tuning in tonight. I always love having you in chat, Steven. And we'll see if your early prediction next year ends up coming to pass with who you pick to make the finals. But the Celtics ended up winning. A lot of people thought they couldn't get it done, but they did. But appreciate everybody for being here tonight. Like the stream down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. I hate to see the season go. It's sad. It's always tough when a season ends in any sport, but we got more stuff coming on the way. Sports never ends. There's always going to be new stuff to talk about, and I will be here with more news when that stuff comes out in any sport. We're going to be talking about it when that happens, but appreciate you, Steven. Great job, Jeffrey. Love your show. Always love seeing you in chat, Steven. I appreciate it a lot. Appreciate all your guys' compliments and support. You guys are the best. It means a lot. And Jackson says, if you like to check out my X account, I am on Rumble as well. I tweet on, they don't call it tweets anymore, but on Twitter, I do post every single day on various topics, and also on my Rumble channel I have all my videos and live streams there as well. If you like to follow me there, would really appreciate it. But thanks for being here, everybody, tonight. Let's get Jeffrey to 3,000 subs. Appreciate that, Jackson. But thanks everybody for being here tonight. What a win for the Boston Celtics. They finally got it done. Can't wait for the next NBA season to see what happens. But college football and NFL will be right around the corner, and we'll be there for that as well. Can't wait for all that stuff that's going to be happening, but appreciate being here, everybody. Congratulations to the Boston Celtics for winning their 18th title and first for Tatum and Brown. Thanks for being here, everybody.